Chapter 1234. Zi Qianqian stared at the direction where Yiqing Luo had left, deep in thought. Suddenly hearing Guard Shengguan's words, she regained her senses and glanced at him indifferently. "No need to thank me." Saying that, she hid the deep meaning in her eyes and turned around to leave. She frowned slightly as her beautiful eyes congealed. What she saw earlier, was it an illusion? Master Mo actually hugged Yiqing Luo in his arms? And in that kind of intimate and ambiguous position, hugging Yiqing Luo? Wasn't it said that Yiqing Luo was the lady whom the overlord had taken a fancy to? Why was Yiqing Luo so intimate with Master Mo? That kind of hugging posture. It was definitely not just a relationship between a master and his student. Suddenly, Zi Qianqian recalled yesterday, when she got someone to inquire about Yiqing Luo's news. What that person told her. Master Mo had directly chosen to teach devil class the moment he came back from the main courtyard. Apparently, he specially went to look for Yiqing Luo. There was definitely something between Master Mo and Yiqing Luo. Night. In a small mountain village not far from the West Square. The surroundings were desolate, without any signs of human presence. The air was filled with the stench of fresh blood. In one of the thatched huts, the candlelight elongated the two entangled figures in the room. Indistinctly there was an ambiguous panting sound that made one blush. The night was as cold as water. A slender figure stepped on the moonlight as she sped over. Just as she neared the thatched hut, her footsteps suddenly halted. The sound in the hut was extremely loud, as the wooden planks were rattling. The ambiguous voice pierced her cold and elegant face, making it seem even paler. Cough. The lady's face was pale, suppressing the anger in her chest as she coughed. The sound in the hut paused, and became even more intense. Totally not restrained because of the lady's arrival. Ah! Xiang! Holy technique. Outside. The fragmented voice was filled with a man's coquettish charm, but because of the ferocious treatment, there was no way to complete a sentence. The candlelight swayed. The wooden planks in the silent night were exceptionally loud. The lady outside could not bear it any longer, as she lifted her leg and directly kicked open that tottering door. The lady clutched her chest as she staggered into the hut. The two entangled in the hut, as though they were not affected by her. As they continued to tangle, then he saw that the woman's face was pale, and she looked like she was heavily injured. Only then did the two of them react. Xiang Shengfa tore off his clothes and casually covered the man under him. Then he stood up and walked towards the woman. "What's wrong with you? Why do you look so pathetic?" The woman pushed away Xiang Shengfa's hand in disgust and stumbled against the wooden table. He seemed to have stepped on something. She looked down and saw a corpse that had been cut in half. Judging from his attire, he was obviously the owner of this thatched cottage. She frowned and kicked the half of the corpse away. "You guys can even afford to play in this kind of place. Your taste is really heavy." Xiang Shengfa looked back at Si Yanmu, who was dressed neatly, and laughed out loud. "As long as Mu is here, I can be interested in any place." Si Yanmu draped the long robe embroidered with an elephant pattern on Xiang Shengfa's body. When he heard this, his gentle jade-like face immediately turned red. "Xiang, you are teasing me again." Xiang Shengfa's eyes darkened, as if he wanted to hold Si Yanmu in his arms again, and have a good time with him. "Both of you, enough is enough." The woman impatiently patted the table. This slap caused her chest to ache incessantly. Chapter 1235. What? Elephant Shengfa's expression darkened. He glared at the woman in front of him and said, "Didn't you say that there would be no problem if you were to go?" That lady's face was pale. A pair of ruthless eyes shot out intense hatred. This saint has belittled Yiqing Luo, that little slut, allowing her to take advantage of the loophole. Lord Saint technique. Devil class obtained the leader position? Si Yanmu's expression changed slightly as he asked anxiously. The woman acted as if someone had touched her bad luck. She grabbed the things on the table and threw them at Si Yanmu's face. "Why didn't you tell me earlier about that little slut's ability to poison?" Si Yanmu did not dare to dodge. A big palm blocked in front of Si Yanmu. Xiang Shengfa caught the thing that was thrown over and said calmly, "That's enough, Dai. You can be angry, but If you hurt Mumu's face, don't blame me for falling out with you. The woman was so angry that she snorted and turned her head away. Si Yanmu clenched the clothes of the elephant holy technique and looked at the woman lying in the haystack not far away. If the task fails, then what will happen to Lu Shuiyu? What? Do you feel sorry for her? The woman turned her head and sneered. Her line of sight followed Si Yanmu's line of sight and looked at the woman in the haystack. Their faces were exactly the same. Even if one looked closely, it was impossible to tell which one was the real Lu Shuiyu. He was right. The woman conversing with the sacred art of elephant was one of the 4 sacred arts that had disguised herself as Lu Shuiyu to participate in the interclass competition, the sacred art of butterfly. How could that be? Si Yanmu anxiously looked at Xiang Sheng Fa, for fear that he would misunderstand. I hate her more than enough. How could I feel sorry for her? But Lu Shuiyu is still of use to us. There won't be any left soon. The sacred butterfly technique sneered and looked away. You guys better think about how you're going to explain this to the Lord. At the mention of their Lord, their expressions suddenly became extremely solemn. Recently, the Imperial Palace had been harassing the Dark Coalition with the excuse of being attacked by the Dark Coalition. Moreover, because of Yi Qing Luo, the number of cultivators' souls which he had absorbed recently was getting lesser and lesser. At this moment, if they brought the news of their failed mission back to the Dark Forces, would the Lord directly tear their hands into pieces? Since when have I ever suffered such humiliation? Yi Qing Luo, that little slut. I will play her to death sooner or later. Saint Butterfly clenched her teeth and covered her chest. That's right, that little bitch knows how to poison people. And she's pretty good at it. If you guys have any other plans, you better be prepared. In the dormitory, the students who were smiling ambiguously were chased back to their rooms. Yi Qing Luo took a look at the man behind her. Aren't you going to settle the Imperial Palace's matters? Why did he make it look like Supreme Mo? Where's Feng? I missed you. Dmo Xian wrapped his arms around her waist from behind and rubbed against her delicate shoulders. Feng is hiding in the dark. If you want to order him around, you can call him anytime. Yi Qing Luo was tickled by his actions as she giggled. Dmo Xian's slender fingers brushed past the strands of hair on her forehead. You don't have to worry about the Imperial Palace. Just concentrate on the competition. Yi Qing Luo knitted her brows. She knew that based on her current ability, even if something happened to the Imperial Palace, she wouldn't be of any help at all. But this feeling of being isolated was something she didn't like at all. Just as she was about to open her mouth, Dmo Xian's finger pressed against her pink lips. Chapter 1236. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips lightly, a pair of enchanting eyes fixed on Dmo Xian. He didn't want her to get involved in the matters of the Imperial Palace, so he deliberately changed the topic. Could it be? Was she really that weak in his eyes? As if he had seen through Yi Qing Luo's thoughts, Dmo Xian withdrew his hand and heaved a long sigh. In the next instant, his long arms exerted strength and pulled her into his embrace. Lil Luoer, what nonsense are you thinking about? Dmo Xian's large palm covered the back of Yi Qing Luo's head as he hugged her tightly in his arms. Yi Qing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she slowly raised her eyes. Even though she had seen that peerless face countless times, it still made her heart palpitate. From this angle, she could clearly see the helplessness hidden in Dmo Xian's eyes. When those deep peach blossom eyes looked at her, it was as if they carried all the gentleness and love in the world. I didn't want to tell you just to make you feel at ease. Dmo Xian's slender fingers brushed past her brows. The Imperial Palace's harassment towards the Dark Forces had a certain effect. Not only did it create pressure for the Dark Forces, you should be able to have some peace these few days. Yi Qing Luo blinked her eyes as she immediately digested Dmo Xian's words. As it turned out, Dmo Xian would take the opportunity of the Wolf Saint Technique's attack to completely control the public opinion. Then, he openly sent out the Imperial Palace's disciples to fight and harass the Dark Forces several times. He said that he wanted to destroy the Wolf Saint's forces. However, he had never used his true strength. He had only used simple harassment. Was it all for her? Yi Qing Luo's arms hugged his waist tightly as her brows rose up. All right, it's my fault for letting my imagination run wild, but you can't hide everything from me. Then, little Luo, you can't hide it from me. Her lower jaw was abruptly lifted by Dmo Xian's slender fingers. In Yi Qing Luo's pupils, that face which made her heart fluttered was magnified infinitely. A warm and domineering kiss landed on her lips. That force was extremely ferocious, and in just a moment, it had completely swallowed Yi Qing Luo. The kiss became increasingly sorrowful and ambiguous. It was as though he wanted to merge Yi Qing Luo into his blood and bones. Yi Qing Luo's face was flushed red. Her petite body had no strength at all. She wanted to struggle and breathe, but the man's grip on her tightened. Little Luo, Dmo Xian's hoarse voice softly called out her name. Dmo Xian's large palm was tightly wrapped around her waist belt. His body was burning hot and taut. A single kiss was enough to make him unable to restrain himself. He wanted Lil Luo, when he had actually become so desperate for Lil Luo. Cough. Dizun expressed that the man was so hungry that he was only thinking about how to make love to his little Luo heir. Xian. No, you can't. Yi Qing Luo blushed, deeply feeling the changes in the man's body. She blushed, her hands clutching the front of his shirt tightly. Lil Luo, do you really have the heart to pay for the rest of your life's fortune? Dmo Xian suppressed his voice, as it was filled with a thick desire. He held the little woman's hand and reached out. Are you sure I can stop now? Yi Qing Luo was so shocked that she hurriedly slapped Dmo Xian's hand away, as her face turned even redder. Pervert! Dmo Xian's half-squinted peach blossom eyes, as rippling lights shone down resplendent luster. He bent over and kissed her earlobe, as his hoarse voice became even more sexy. I'm only perverted towards you. Chapter 1237. Ah! Yi Qing Luo cried out in shock as her body was placed on the soft bed. A head of fine black hair scattered over the head of the bed, like a blooming flower, gorgeous beyond compare. Her little face blushed red as her little hand propped against his chest. Xian! Stop first, listen to me. MMPH. His lips came down on hers, fiercely kissing her lips, stopping her from rejecting him. Yi Qing Luo struggled even more. Her pair of charming eyes were stained with a layer of mist because of his kiss. Her charming eyes were like silk, exceptionally enchanting. Dmo Xian's thick palm, with a thin layer of callus, caressed Yi Qing Luo's body. Yi Qing Luo panted even more violently. He half propped himself up, as he gazed at the crimson cheeks, seductive young lady below him. An indescribable feeling surged from his lower abdomen. The fire in his eyes, with a whoosh, burned extremely vigorously. Xian! Yi Qing Luo saw him finally stopping, as she immediately called out Dmo Xian's name. Because of the suffocating kiss, she was panting heavily. This coquettish call was accompanied by light panting, as though it was a seductive moan. When Yi Qing Luo's gaze faced towards Dmo Xian, attempting to make him calm down, her entire person was instantly stunned. Her petite body also froze. His gaze, scorching and boiling hot. It was like a burning fire, staring at her with a scorching gaze, as though he wanted to swallow her into his abdomen. Under this fiery gaze, Yi Qing Luo only felt that her body seemed to be on fire. Lil Luo trying to escape? Sensing the stiff young lady in his arms, Dmo Xian bent down, as he laughed softly beside her ear. What responded to him was increasingly heavy and urgent panting. Dmo Xian's smile became even more unbridled. In future, dare to let your imagination run wild? Yi Qing Luo shook her head like a rattle drum. Her charming eyes stared straight at Dmo Xian, as a sliver of tears, as her long curly eyelashes fluttered, as though she was telling Dmo Xian, look at me. I'm the most sincere. I will definitely not let my imagination run wild. That adorable look made Dmo Xian's pupils contracted continuously. The fire was burning more and more violently. Since you know you're in the wrong, don't reject me. Dmo Xian locked her hands behind her back and used one hand to undo Yi Qing Luo's clothes. Using his magnetic and hoarse voice, he continued, Lil Luo, when I see you, I want to kiss you. I want to hold you in my arms. I want to do what I'm doing to you now. You. Yi Qing Luo was so embarrassed that she didn't know what to say to refute. She had always known that men thought with their lower bodies. But he didn't know that even Diemo Xian was the same. She still had a competition tomorrow. Now, let Diemo Xian eat everything clean. Yi Qing Luo expressed that based on Diemo Xian's current hungry look, she would absolutely not have the strength to stand up tomorrow. Furthermore, what's more, right now, Yi Qing Luo's eyes were moist as she wriggled her body, trying to break free from his hand to stop Diemo Xian. Ah Xian, I really know I'm in the wrong. I promise I won't let my imagination run wild, don't. The man's hand had already ripped off her clothes. A scorching hot breath sprayed on her body. After that, his fingers unbuttoned Yi Qing Luo's skirt. Just as he was about to probe in, suddenly, his expression congealed. Following that, his body stiffened. He was completely stunned. That taut body, muscles tight and firm, as his gaze turned even more profound. That. Yi Qing Luo coughed lightly, looking at the man's sunken face. She inexplicably felt that it was rather funny. Chapter 1238. Diemo Xian's face sunk as he clenched his teeth and straightened Yi Qing Luo's messy clothes. He flipped over and sat on the bed. That warm warmth suddenly dissipated as Yi Qing Luo blushed as she sat up and fastened her clothes properly. Her peripheral vision glanced towards Diemo Xian's direction from time to time. Both of them didn't say a word to break the awkward silence. It was until Yi Qing Luo had completely put on her clothes and tied them up that little body nudged towards Diemo Xian's side. That. Yi Qing Luo obviously felt. The minute she moved, Diemo Xian's body instantly tensed up. His yearning had not completely disappeared. The corners of Yi Qing Luo's eyes suddenly curved into a long and narrow arc, as her eyes sparkled with a crafty luster. Ah Xian. Her voice turned tender as Yi Qing Luo's petite body directly covered Diemo Xian's back as her two little hands hugged his waist tightly. At such a close distance, she indeed felt the man's body tensed up and stiff. Vaguely, she could still hear Diemo Xian's heavy panting. Lil Luo. Diemo Xian swallowed his saliva as he suppressed the fire that was stirred up by this little lady. He raised his voice, and his voice was extremely tensed. However, Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to hear the suppressed feelings in his words, as she rubbed her petite body against his back. I've already reminded you, but you didn't listen, and now you're still fierce to me. After saying this sentence, Yi Qing Luo herself started to have goosebumps. But in order to see Diemo Xian losing control, she endured it. Her words had just ended when Yi Qing Luo's body felt light as she fell onto the bed. The man's boiling hot chest pressed down on her. Diemo Xian's fingers clasped her lower jaw as he stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo with his bloodshot eyes. Lil Luo, do you really think I don't dare to touch you? At this moment, Yi Qing Luo wasn't flustered like before. Instead, she giggled happily as her arms automatically wrapped around his neck as she whispered into his ear. Amen. I'm just relying on the fact that you don't dare to touch me. Her curved eyes were filled with a crafty smile. Diemo Xian's arm, which was propped up by her side, clenched tightly into a fist. That peerless face was drenched in cold sweat. His taut expression was extremely terrifying. Staring at Yi Qing Luo's smiling eyes, Diemo Xian took a deep breath as he flipped over from Yi Qing Luo's body with a gloomy face. Yes, he could not touch her. It wasn't that he didn't dare to, but that he couldn't bear to. Looking at Diemo Xian's suppressed expression, Yi Qing Luo was in a good mood. Actually, if her body was able to sleep with Diemo Xian, and since she didn't have to compete tomorrow, she might have given in after her reluctance earlier. But it could only be said that Diemo Xian's timing and date were not right. Who knew that today was coincidentally the day her Kuei water arrived? Cough. That's right, it was the legendary great-aunt visiting. In ancient times, there were no sanitary napkins like in modern times. Yi Qing Luo had always used soft silk cloth to make menstrual pads. Previously, when she was training the students in the academy, Diemo Xian had sneaked into her room several times to help her wash her clothes, and had seen her improved sanitary pads. Hence, Earlier when Dmo Xian touched it, he knew what it was. Dmo Xian's heart almost collapsed. Now he really wanted to rush out and raze the West Lawn Public Square to the ground. Calling for a stop at the last minute was fine. Lil Luo, or this little vixen, knew that he couldn't bear to do her at this moment. Chapter 1239. If it was during normal times, Dmo Xian would absolutely be excited and enjoy Lil Luo's initiative. But now it was pain and happiness. The famished him had long thought of pouncing on Yiqing Luo from all angles without any blind spots. A call to stop midway, and he was still working on it. The little demoness was still stirring up the fire without any restraint. Provoking him. Yiqing Luo's long eyelashes fluttered as she blinked her charming eyes. After she crawled up from the bed, she was like a little kitten as she snuggled into Dmo Xian's embrace. Her small hands circled around his waist again. The soft Qiao's body was pressed tightly against Dmo Xian's top body. Yes, she was provoking Dmo Xian. Just by relying on Dmo Xian's unwillingness to part with her, Xihua in every possible way. She smiled seductively and leaned in his arms, looking up at the man's gloomy face. Don't pull a long face. Saying that, he stretched out his hand to touch Dmo Xian's face. Before it could even touch him, it was caught by Dmo Xian's huge palm. He lowered his eyes and with a burning gaze, he stuck it onto Yiqing Luo's body as his gaze burned. Lil Luo, don't be complacent. In a few days' time, I will make you cry and beg for mercy. Dmo Xian's long arm wrapped tightly around her slender waist. With a sudden burst of strength, he ruthlessly pressed her down onto his scorching lower abdomen. Yiqing Luo's originally flirtatious eyes, intentionally provoking Dmo Xian's little face, instantly turned red as she cried out in shock from Dmo Xian's actions. Hearing Yiqing Luo's panic screams, Dmo Xian raised his eyebrows in satisfaction as he glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's face and ears were flushed red as she laid in his arms. Her mouth couldn't stop muttering that Dmo Xian was a beast. A huge beast who had lost his mind. The little woman finally calmed down. Dmo Xian heaved a sigh of relief. His self-control, after meeting Yiqing Luo, was totally out of control. If Lil Luo continued to make a fuss, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't go berserk. And directly do Yiqing Luo. Wrapping his arms tightly around Yiqing Luo's slender waist, Dmo Xian diverted the topic. Are you planning to go up alone for the challenge tomorrow? Yiqing Luo buried herself in his chest and responded in a low voice. According to the rules of challenging the overseer, this was the case. In the first 3 rounds of the competition, the students of the class that won the championship could directly gang up on the leader of the class and beat him up. All he had to do was eliminate the overseer. The final winner of this competition would be the class that won first place. The last batch of students from the devil class were the entire class, all of them remaining till the last round. Hence, in tomorrow's challenge, according to the rules, all 62 students of devil class would challenge Zi Qianqian alone at the same time. This was the rule set from the very beginning. It wasn't that Yiqing Luo was afraid of others gossiping, but she wanted to challenge Zi Qianqian alone. On the contrary, she wanted to gang up on Zi Qianqian, and in this competition, as quickly as possible. But tomorrow, she could only challenge it alone. Before the competition, the students of devil class were attacked by the dark forces, causing them to suffer heavy losses. It was the medicinal pills which Dmo Xian had sent over from the Imperial Palace, which allowed the students of devil class to hang on till now. If they continued to forcefully hang on, the students' bodies would not be able to take it. That medicinal pill was able to speedily heal the injuries on the body, but the side effects of the medicinal pill, it was too painful. Tomorrow was the final duration of the medicinal effect. Chapter 1240. Yiqing Luo had already discussed with Old Man Guiyu, Yifeng Yu and Peach. Tonight they would evacuate all the devil class students from the academy and return to the World Mercenary Group's old mansion to recuperate. Old Man Guiyu and the rest would be in charge of guarding and taking care of them. After Dmo Xian heard Yiqing Luo's plan, his large palm caressed her hair as he spoke in a warm voice. You don't have to worry about the dark forces. They are currently in a terrible mess because of the Imperial Palace. Furthermore, the plan to stop you from getting first place has already failed. I'm afraid they can't even protect themselves, so they don't have the time or mood to find trouble with you. Yiqing Luo shrunk into his arms as she responded with a soft mm. But just in case, I'll send some Imperial Palace's disciples to stand guard outside the old mansion. You just have to concentrate on the competition. Dmo Xian's slender fingers had already followed her fine black hair, brushing past her pink lips. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth and bit his fingers as she gave a vague smile. With Xian around, I'm very assured. Dmo Xian's eyes turned gloomy, the moist and soft touch. Because of their conversation, the soft feeling of her lips brushing past his fingers made the feelings which he had suppressed with great difficulty to swell up. He squinted his long peach blossom eyes as his fingers fiercely rubbed her lips. His tone was evil. In a few days, I'll see how you cry and beg me for mercy. That ferocious look made Yiqing Luo laugh happily. She laughed so hard in Dmo Xian's arms that her body kept shaking as she stretched out her hand and pinched his waist fiercely. I'll be waiting. As the two of them were laughing and fooling around, they didn't notice anything. A jade-green figure stood in the dark corner of the room. A ray of white light, which was visible to the naked eye, enveloped that figure. This person was Feng Ling. She stood in the dark corner, as her eyes stared venomously at that tightly shut door. Her ears kept ringing with those blushing voices, which she had heard earlier. She could even imagine in her mind those shameful things which they were doing in the room. The more she thought, the more painful her heart became. Her fingers trembled as they tightened one by one, curling up one by one. The next day, the curtains of the last round of competition began. After a few days of competition, the excitement of the representatives of the various forces had long since dissipated. In particular, when the final results of the class that won the championship yesterday came out, more than 2,000 people lost a lot of gold. Today, the entire square seemed to be extremely depressed, and there wasn't the slightest bit of excitement from a few days ago. Although Zi Qianqian from the class of gods was competing with the 62 students from the class of devils. Adding on Yiqing Luo, who could even completely oppress an earth-profound 9th-grade cultivator. This match was definitely going to be exciting, but the onlookers were still uninterested. No matter how big the world was, it was not as big as the money they had lost. Who would have thought that the devil class that was known as the trash class, the class that gathered a bunch of weak and useless trash, would become a black horse that successfully broke through the encirclement. In this strange atmosphere, the atmosphere was very strange. The representatives of the Heavenly Academy stepped into the venue. However, the principal was nowhere to be seen. Yunduan walked at the front with a few elders following behind him. The 4 elders of the headquarters also entered from the other side. Only then did the atmosphere become more lively. After the opening speech, Yunduan succinctly explained the rules for today, and immediately let Zi Qianqian and the devil class go on stage. Zi Qianqian was still dressed in an elegant white long dress today, her face like a green lotus, pure and moving, her red lips curled up slightly, dazzling the eyes. Chapter 1241. Where are the devil classes students? It seems like I haven't seen any devil class students today. It's already time for the competition. Why haven't I seen a single person? The students from the other classes all looked towards the devil classes waiting area. These few days, the devil class students would rush to the waiting area an hour before the competition. The competition had already begun, but not a single person could be seen. Speaking of which, in the dormitory, they didn't see any devil class students today. Could it be that the devil class students have all run away? A student hesitantly raised his own guess. Immediately, another student hammered his head. The challenge competition is for the devil class's 62 students to challenge student Zi Qianqian alone. And there's still Yiqing Luo. How could they have run away? Other than running away, I really can't think of. Any other reason that would cause all the devil class students to not come to the scene? With that said, everyone went silent. The crowd also focused their attention on the arena, from the pain of losing a large amount of money. Are the devil class students here? Yin Duan saw the surrounding discussion getting louder and louder. He frowned and raised his voice to ask. His gaze sharply swept across the surroundings. The crowd looked left and right, but didn't see any devil class students. Yin Duan's brows knitted even tighter. The champion class's challenge to the overseer is about to begin. If the devil class students are not here, it will be considered as the devil class has forfeited. The overseer Zi Qianqian's class will become the champion class of this year's interclass competition. The entire square fell into silence. Yin Duan continued. According to the interclass competition rules, if the devil class students have not come up to the stage to accept the challenge, it will be considered as the devil class has forfeited. 3. When the countdown began, the crowd started to whisper to each other. Don't tell me the devil class really ran away? That's very possible. The devil class students are a bunch of trash. Only Yiqing Luo can do it. This time the challenge competition is against the students from the class of gods. I guess Yiqing Luo doesn't have that confidence, so she brought her classmates and ran away. I was wondering why they agreed so readily yesterday, and there wasn't a single bit of surprise or fear. It seems like they had already thought of an escape route. 2. Cloud raised his voice and shouted out the second number. Only then did the surrounding people quiet down a little. Cloud narrowed his eyes and looked around, but he couldn't find anyone familiar. He hesitated for a moment, but under Yin Xiang's urging gaze, he slowly opened his mouth. At that moment, a red figure suddenly descended from the sky. Cloud only felt a gust of wind blowing his white hair into a mess. He saw Yiqing Luo standing steadily in front of Zi Qianqian. Her red dress fluttered in the wind like a blooming rose, absolutely stunning. Her black hair was not tied up and scattered over her shoulders. Since he had rushed over, his hair was messy, but it was not impolite. The Yiqing Luo with her hair scattered over her shoulders had a charm that was different from the past. Amidst the charm, there was a trace of pure and holy aura. In an instant, the crowd's gaze shifted from Zi Qianqian to Yiqing Luo. Chapter 1242. This was the voice of countless people. Two completely different types of beauties. They were two beauties with completely different temperaments and clothes. At this moment, Yiqing Luo had completely outshone Zi Qianqian. The crowd all felt that Yiqing Luo was using some underhanded tricks. She couldn't win Zi Qianqian in terms of ability. At least in terms of looks, she had to win Zi Qianqian. If Yiqing Luo knew what everyone was thinking, she would definitely spit out blood. She would appear in such a way and even rush to the stage at this time. It was completely because of that shameless beast. Yiqing Luo stared fiercely at the direction of the elder. Dmo Xian wore Senior Mo's face as he chatted with the elder beside him as he sat down. As though he sensed Yiqing Luo's gaze, he raised his head and met her eyes. Immediately, her shimmering peach blossom eyes curved into a demonic arc. His obsidian-like eyes shone brightly. His slender fingers gently caressed his rosy lips. Smiling as though he hadn't had enough, Yiqing Luo's face turned red in an instant. Now, she completely understood that this shameless beast was absolutely not someone she could provoke. She wanted to take advantage of her inconvenience to challenge Dmo Xian's authority. The final result was, last night, she herself was provoked by Dmo Xian to the point that she didn't want to. In the end, Dmo Xian acted as though nothing had happened as he turned over to sleep. Damn it! This was clearly a deliberate act of revenge, right? She couldn't fall asleep because of the torment last night. With great difficulty, he finally managed to fall asleep. This time, he almost missed today's match. Taking a deep breath, Yiqing Luo expressed that she must maintain her composure in such a serious challenge. Student Yiqing Luo, where are the other students in Devil class? Yin Duan looked around and didn't see any other students. Yiqing Luo casually combed her hair into a ponytail as she replied, "For today's competition, I'll be fine alone." One person? Has Yiqing Luo gone mad? I think she's too arrogant and conceited. You think that you can defeat Lu Shuiyu, who is at the 9th grade of the Earth Profound Realm, and you also think that you can easily defeat Zi Qianqian, who is in the class of gods. The class of gods is called the class of gods because the class of gods is a place for godlike people. No matter how powerful Yi Qing Luo is, she's just a mortal. The onlookers and the spectating class were in an uproar. Those who were originally looking at Yi Qing Luo with astonished gazes had all changed. Replacing it was disdain towards Yi Qing Luo's conceit. Even Zi Qianqian, who was standing opposite Yi Qing Luo, also revealed some ridicule because of her words. Her pair of beautiful eyes meaningfully swept past Yi Qing Luo and fell onto the direction of the main courtyard seating. It seemed like she hadn't misjudged him yesterday. Between Yi Qing Luo and Supreme Mo of the main courtyard, there must be some ambiguous relationship. Yesterday Supreme Mo carried Yi Qing Luo intimately as he left. Today, the two of them rushed to the West Billow Square at the same time. Only a ghost would believe that there was nothing between them. Under Zi Qianqian's probing gaze, Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly. Somehow, she felt that something was being spied on by Zi Qianqian. Just as she was about to ponder deeply, Yun Duan's voice rang beside her ear. You want to challenge student Zi Qianqian alone? Student Yi Qing Luo, are you sure? Yi Qing Luo regained her senses. Her eyes filled with smiles as she nodded towards Yun Duan. Yes, I'm sure. Seeing Yi Qing Luo's determined gaze, Yun Duan didn't ask any further. After reporting his arrival, he took his leave. Chapter 1243. Student Yi Qing Luo. I really don't know if I should say that you are too confident, or should I say that you are smart? Zi Qianqian's brows revealed a trace of ridicule. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. What do you think? Being able to defeat Lu Shuiyu doesn't mean that your strength has already surpassed the 9th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. In the end, Zi Qianqian suddenly lowered her voice and revealed a meaningful smile on her delicate face. You know very well how you beat Lu Shuiyu. Yi Qing Luo blinked her eyes, tilted her head and smiled sweetly. So? You. The smile on Zi Qianqian's face froze, and a word escaped from between his teeth. She originally thought that after hearing what she said, Yi Qing Luo would definitely be flustered. In fact, he would even beg her not to tell the truth about the matter. Unexpectedly, Yi Qing Luo was actually so calm. And he didn't take it seriously? Did she really think that I wouldn't dare to expose her relationship with Supreme Mo? Zi Qianqian clenched his fists tightly. He had once been suppressed by Yi Qing Luo in King Ling's tomb, and now in the arena competition, because of his looks, he was suppressed by Yi Qing Luo once again. This time, she definitely had to get back at him and prove herself. She was absolutely stronger than Yi Qing Luo. Zi Qianqian's expression became extremely serious. A dazzling and resplendent profound light broke out from his body. Boundless energy instantly enveloped the entire arena. Because of Yi Qing Luo and Lu Shuiyu's match yesterday, the arena stage was severely damaged, and because of the strong profound energy, it almost hurt the spectator seats. Today's barrier was formed by two more student elders. The entire arena was a completely different space from the outside world. Thus, the profound energy Zi Qianqian released became extremely strong in this arena. The entire arena shook because of this surge of profound energy. This power, Yi Qing Luo was slightly astonished. To be honest, she really did not take Zi Qianqian seriously. Even though they were students of the class of gods, they were still students. Although Zi Qianqian was also the vice captain of the 3rd mercenary group, the Azura group, he was not a match for Zi Qianqian. But to be able to reach the position of vice leader, especially in the rankings, it was a well-known mercenary group. No matter what he did, there would always be someone to do it for him. Even if Zi Qianqian was extremely talented, her actual combat experience was definitely not comparable to hers. In any case, he was someone who had lived 2 lives. However, she really didn't expect Zi Qianqian's profound rank had actually reached the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. Zi Qianqian was extremely talented, but she was only 17 this year. At such a young age, he had already reached the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. as expected of a student from the class of gods. Rumor has it that it seems to be a green rank profound heart jade. In the entire Nirvana realm, one might not be able to find more than 10 people with a 4th grade profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo wielded the glower flame fan and released a whirlwind, forming a protective film that blocked off the profound chi. She narrowed her eyes and thought carefully about how to deal with Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian was at the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm, while she was at the 4th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. It was 3 grades higher, but the difference was like the distance between heaven and earth. It was equivalent to, she had hit Zi Qianqian. Zi Qianqian would at most be injured. However, if Zi Qianqian's attack landed on her body, even if he didn't die, he would lose half his life. Fighting Zi Qianqian was different from fighting the mysterious person who impersonated Lu Shuiyu. After all, the mysterious man had a guilty conscience and did not dare to reveal his identity. Yiqing Luo grasped that mentality and secretly poisoned him to settle that mysterious man. But Zi Qianqian was different. Chapter 1244. Earth Profound 7th grade. No wonder she's a student from the class of gods. Earth Profound Realm cultivators are a dime a dozen right now? I heard that the number 1 beauty's profound jade heart is a green grade. Yiqing Luo is also Earth Profound 4th grade, right? With a difference of 3 grades, Yiqing Luo is bound to lose. I remember the headmaster said that the number 1 beauty in the class of gods can only be considered as below average. Oh my god! The middle and lower levels are all Earth Profound 7th grade high-level profound practitioners. Don't tell me, those middle and upper level students have all become Sky Profound Supremes? The crowd was stunned by Zi Qianqian's profound grade. A 17-year-old Earth Profound 7th grade cultivator. This could be said to be a genius among geniuses. Immediately, the low Profound Class 2 students were unconvinced. What's 3 grades? Yesterday's high Profound Class 2 class monitor Lu Shui Yu was an Earth Profound 9th grade cultivator. But she still lost. Madame Qing Luo will definitely win. She can even defeat an Earth Profound 9th grade cultivator. Madame Qing Luo will definitely beat the students from the class of gods until they are begging for mercy. The low Profound Class 2 students had been training with Yifeng Yu recently, which was why they were able to make such rapid progress. And Yifeng Yu said that these training methods were learned from Yiqing Luo. Moreover, Peach was considered as someone who had a say in the low Profound Class 2. After all, the 3000 Peach Blossom was a very famous name in the pugilistic world. Peach was also constantly brainwashing the students from the low Profound Class 2. Therefore, the students from the low Profound Class 2 had long become the Devil's Class. Or more accurately, Yiqing Luo's number 1 escort team. Listening to the quarrel below the stage, Zi Qianqian sneered. That kind of trash, even if they are Earth Profound 9th grade cultivators, they are only equivalent to our Earth Profound cultivators in the class of gods. Don't naively think that you can use the same method to deal with Lu Shuiyu against me. Yiqing Luo raised her eyebrows disapprovingly. Then why not? Give it a try. Zi Qianqian pursed her red lips, knowing that there was no way to humiliate Yiqing Luo with words. On the contrary, she would be angered by Yiqing Luo. She snorted coldly and didn't say any more nonsense. Her white lotus-like dress fluttered, and a long sword appeared in her hand. The white long sword was dazzling, like a graceful swan. It directly attacked towards Yiqing Luo's face. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes slightly, without any intention of evading. In the blink of an eye, the long sword had already closed in. The sword brought with it a terrifying aura, as if it could engulf her in an instant. Madame Qing Luo, what is Yiqing Luo doing? The low Profound Class 2 students and the other onlookers suddenly stood up. He couldn't understand why Yiqing Luo didn't dodge Zi Qianqian's attack. Could it be that he knew he was going to lose, so he was too lazy to resist? Just as everyone was in shock, that sword gleam which was nearing Yiqing Luo suddenly turned into a sword move. In a split second, the longsword split into dozens of swords. Following Zi Qianqian's command, Those 10 over swords enlarged in front of Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Phantom sword formation. Someone in the crowd shouted out the name of this sword move. Many swordsmen immediately became excited. Phantom sword formation, among the swordsmen, wasn't considered as a particularly rare sword move. But most swordsmen could only transform their swords into 10 at most. But Zi Qianqian's sword formation had at least 30 swords. The onlookers couldn't help but sigh. She was indeed a student from the class of gods. Even an ordinary sword move could create such a powerful sword formation. Chapter 1245. Boom, boom, boom. The raging profound light shattered the arena into pieces. The majestic profound energy surged like a tide. The whole ring was swept by a hurricane in an instant, and the horrible atmosphere pervaded the surroundings. Sister. Yi Fengyu suddenly stood up, which affected the wound on his body. He frowned in pain and took a deep breath, but still stubbornly wanted to rush to the ring. Yi Fengyu, calm down. Dong Huanglang came to the waiting area of the low profound class 2, and stopped Yi Fengyu. My sister is on the ring, how can I calm down? Yi Fengyu's pale face was enduring the severe pain. He struggled to open Dong Huanglang's hand, and his eyes were scarlet. He saw with his own eyes that his sister was covered by that sword array. If those dozens of long swords hit his sister's body. Sister. Yi Fengyu did not dare to think about it, and his eyes were red as he struggled to break free from Dong Huanglang's hand. Dong Huanglang held him tightly, and seeing that he was still not obedient, he simply circled him in his arms. Before he could hold him tightly, Dong Huanglang's collar was suddenly pulled, and he was forced to let go of Yi Fengyu. Following the pull, he stepped back a few steps and fell into a hard embrace. A hand tightly clasped Dong Huanglang's waist. A cold voice sounded in his ear. If he wants to go, let him go. Jing. Dong Huanglang turned his head to look at the indifferent man behind him, and frowned. He is injured like this. If he forcibly rushes to the ring, he will die. That has nothing to do with you. Qi Yijing narrowed his eyes and looked at the boy who was running to the ring. If he wants his sister to lose this match, and finally get her profound heart jade dug out by Shangguan Liali, and break her meridians, then let him go. Yi Fengyu's footsteps stopped. His body, which could not even stand steadily, swayed slightly. He mustered all his strength to turn around and look at Qi Yijing. The boy's pale face was without any blood. He panted heavily and stared at Qi Yijing for a long time. What do you mean by that? Don't you know Yi Qing Luo's strength and character as her brother? Do you think she would do something she's not sure of? Qi Yijing answered Yi Fengyu's question with rare patience. Yi Fengyu was stunned. It seemed like no. Yi Qing Luo would not do anything that she was not sure of. As for what she wanted to do, she would always set up countless plans. For example, a plan to do it. If the plan failed, what was the way out, and so on. She always had a well-organized plan. Since you trust her, just sit here quietly and wait for her. Seeing that Yi Fengyu had calmed down, Qi Yijing grabbed Dong Huanglang's wrist and walked towards the waiting area of low profound class 2. Vaguely, he could still hear Qi Yijing's low voice drifting into his ears with the wind. He said, "Wait for her to return in triumph." On the arena, the terrifying profound qi continued to expand and spread. The smile at the corner of Zi Qianqian's mouth became even wider, and the murderous aura that shot out from the depths of his eyes was obscured by the profound light. What super genius! What contract divine artifacts, divine dragons, and a super genius who formed a blood pact with a sacred beast. In the hands of Zi Qianqian, Yi Qing Luo was nothing. Thinking of the Ling King's tomb, how Yi Qing Luo arrogantly taught the god-slaying group a lesson, how she suppressed her prestige, how the god-slaying group became a joke. Chapter 1246. She was just a bitch who could be loved by thousands of people. What right did she have to receive so much praise and attention? Yi Qing Luo actually treated her as a clown? Teasing her? Zi Qianqian sneered as she injected her profound energy into the long sword once again. An increasingly dazzling sword ray was released. The remaining 10 over long swords followed her control and formed a circle in mid-air. Swoosh! A piercing sound was heard as those long swords dashed towards the place where the explosion happened earlier. It was obvious that they wanted to put Yi Qing Luo to death. The crowd's exclamations stopped. The surrounding students also held their breaths. As for the surrounding elders and masters who were in charge of safety, their expressions had a huge change. If there were any students who lost their lives in the competition, it would have a huge impact on the academy's reputation. Those elders and masters who were in charge of safety immediately rushed into the array barrier in an attempt to stop that sword ray. You overestimate yourself. Her sweet voice was tinged with coldness. In that hurricane, it was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. Those elders and masters who rushed into the array barrier immediately stopped in their tracks. That voice. It was Yi Qing Luo's voice. She wasn't dead. Everyone's vision was concentrated on the arena, searching for Yi Qing Luo's traces. The entire West Lawn Public Square was as though it had been rehearsed in advance. Not a sound could be heard. Just as everyone's hearts were clenched tightly, feeling extremely anxious. They saw the place where the illusory sword array exploded earlier. As the dust dispersed, a slender figure gradually appeared. The red dress in the hurricane was like a blossoming beautiful poppy. She was like a proud and aloof poppy flower, standing there elegantly. Her expression was calm and indifferent, like the wind and clouds. It was as if everything around him didn't matter at all. No, it couldn't be said to be of no importance. To put it more accurately, it was a kind of self-confidence, which was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. At this moment, everyone could see with their own eyes. Those 10 over illusory swords struck towards Yi Qing Luo's face with irresistible force. Those 10 over illusory swords were aimed at all her vital points. Yi Qing Luo slowly narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into a smirk, revealing a trace of disdain and ridicule. She raised her right hand, and a devouring flame fan that flickered with an enchanting red light suddenly unfurled. A half-arc of red light flashed past. It was just a gentle block. Dozens of illusionary longswords directly blocked the front of the glowing flame fan. The dazzling sword aura clashed with the devouring flame fan. The deathly silence in the square suddenly exploded into an uproar. What's going on? I'm not seeing things, am I? He managed to block the advanced phantom sword formation that can create more than 30 illusionary swords with just his weapon. The phantom sword array has no way to get close to Yi Qing Luo. My God, he's too strong. She's after all an earth-profound 7th grade cultivator, and she was easily blocked. Yi Qing Luo is indeed Yi Qing Luo. The gasps of admiration from the surrounding crowd caused Zi Qianqian's expression to turn extremely ugly. Her beautiful eyes were suffused with a cold glint as she stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. Unable to believe that the Mirage sword array, which she was so proud of, was actually blocked by Yi Qing Luo. Moreover, he blocked it so easily. He didn't look like he was struggling at all. What Yi Qing Luo said earlier, was she ridiculing her? Ridiculing her for overestimating herself? No. She absolutely could not lose to Yi Qing Luo. This was her only chance. To prove to Nangong Firen that she was stronger than Yi Qing Luo. She absolutely could not lose. Zi Qianqian's eyes were piercingly cold, as though it could condense into ice. Chapter 1247. Tisk Zi Qianqian, are you a swordsman? Aren't you tired of using the same moves? Or do you have no other ultimate moves? Yi Qing Luo snorted in disdain as her lips curled. Other than transforming a bunch of broken swords, what else can you do? A swordsman is a swordsman. Ha! The crowd was stunned. What was Yi Qing Luo saying? She actually insulted Zi Qianqian? No, that wasn't right. This wasn't considered as an insult. Zi Qianqian had indeed been displaying the phantom sword array from the start to the end. Moreover, those who used long swords were indeed called swordsmen. But wasn't Yi Qing Luo a little too arrogant? The phantom sword array could transform into 30 over long swords. Even if she could block the first wave, it didn't mean that she could block the second wave. Very quickly, Yi Qing Luo used her actions to express the disdain in her words. Zi Qianqian condensed and injected an even more powerful profound energy, once again transforming into 10 over long swords. Yi Qing Luo was blocking the first wave of the phantom sword array, so there was no way she could block the second wave in time. But Yi Qing Luo only twitched her lips in disdain, as her 5 fingers suddenly tightened the glower flame fan. A powerful profound energy broke through the sky. Immediately, it exploded with a loud bang. The force was majestic and ferocious. All of a sudden, the 30-odd illusory long swords in front of him shattered into pieces. Gradually, they formed into a long sword. With a clang, it fell onto the ground. The moment the long sword left her hand, Zi Qianqian's expression was already filled with shock. She held onto her numb wrist as she quickly retreated a few steps, dispelling the thought of picking up the long sword. Zi Qianqian had been regarded as a genius since young. Her innate talent, her beauty, were her greatest wealth. Numerous people bowed to her. Numerous people racked their brains just to make her smile. But today, standing on this stage, in front of thousands of people, all her pride had been destroyed. The sword move which she was so proud of was easily blocked by Yi Qing Luo, and the long sword in her hand was shaken off. To a swordsman who used a long sword, this was a great humiliation. She couldn't believe it, and didn't dare to believe it. Yi Qing Luo's ability had actually reached such a stage. He's obviously only a 4th grade Earth Profound Xian practitioner. How could it possibly withstand her attack, which was a 7th grade Earth Profound realm? The rage in Zi Qianqian's chest had already been ignited. She clenched her fists and bit her lower lip. Looking at the sneering Yi Qing Luo, Zi Qianqian didn't hesitate any longer, and took out a magic staff from his space pocket. That magic staff was pitch black in color. The surface was outlined with a complex ancient totem, but it was impossible to tell what exactly the totem above it was. The most horrifying thing was that the tip of the staff was a black sphere. It wasn't inlaid with gold or silver, but rather an open eye. It looked like a human eye, floating at the top of the staff. When Zi Qianqian saw that pair of eyes, there was a clear fear in them. But she forcibly suppressed the fear in her heart as she gripped her staff tightly and raised her eyes to look at Yi Qing Luo with a sneer. Because you're a student of the devil class, as a member of the class of gods, I'll let you have a few moves. I'm not good at swordsmanship. Zi Qianqian waved the staff in her hand. Seeing that student Yi Qing Luo is treating this competition extremely seriously, I'll also compete with you seriously. Not good at. You're not good at it. But you can actually display the Mirage Sword Formation's high-level ultimate move, creating over 30 long swords. Chapter 1248. Not serious. Earlier wave after wave of sword array was obviously to put Yi Qing Luo to death. You call this not being serious? The onlookers were surprised and suspicious. All of them stared at the staff in Zi Qianqian's hand. The students from the class of gods rarely fought. As the vice-captain of the Death God mercenary group, Zi Qianqian rarely participated in missions. Naturally, no one could be certain what weapon Zi Qianqian was proficient in. This was the first time many of them had seen this staff. Isn't that the Tianling staff? Suddenly, the elder who was sitting beside Dmo Xian stood up and stared at the staff in Zi Qianqian's hands. I'd never thought that the Skymas staff is actually in your hands. Tianling staff. The onlookers were not unfamiliar with this name. This heavenly silk staff was a legendary weapon. Although it was not included in the scope of a divine weapon, the power of the Tianling staff had already far surpassed the power of a legendary grade. That magic staff was rumored to be made from a magical beast's magic crystal. A mana gem was only the size of a finger. Forging a staff would require at least 1,000 mana gems. There was only one magic crystal per magical beast. This was a magic staff that had to be made from over 1,000 magical beasts. Needless to say, one could tell how powerful it was. It's actually the Tianling staff. Yi Qing Luo is going to lose for sure. Even if it's the devouring flame fan, I'm afraid it wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from the Tianling staff. The onlookers were amazed. Yi Qing Luo also frowned. Tianling staff. There was no introduction to this staff in his memories. However, from the discussions of the surrounding people, it was very clear that this Tianling staff was not an ordinary item. This was the first time Yiqing Luo saw a cultivator using a staff as a weapon. His heart sank as he frowned. He became even more serious about the upcoming battle. Zi Qianqian's expression softened when he heard the exclamations of the people around him. She arrogantly raised her chin towards Yiqing Luo's direction and gave a cold harumph. "Student Yiqing Luo, I'll let you experience the power of the sky silk staff." He raised the staff in his hand. The huge eye at the top began to blink like a human. Immediately after, a thunderous boom resounded. A bolt of lightning flashed across those blinking eyes. Zi Qianqian sneered and waved his staff towards Yiqing Luo's direction. The electric current made a sizzling sound in the air. If this electric current fell on Yiqing Luo, she would probably be electrocuted into a dried corpse on the spot. Yiqing Luo realized this point. Her expression froze and her pink lips curled into a cold smile. He moved his feet and bent his body. That electric current brushed past Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Yiqing Luo flipped over, and just as she steadied her footing, the second electric current struck again. Yiqing Luo was unhurried as she displayed her footwork and ran back and forth on the stage. The electric current chased after her footsteps. But every single time, it was narrowly avoided by Yiqing Luo. The entire arena was blasted apart by the electric current. The ground was filled with flying stones and dust. But it didn't hurt Yiqing Luo at all. It was so fast that it was like a whirlwind. After attacking for more than 10 times, Zi Qianqian felt that he was like a little puppy being walked by Yiqing Luo. The Tianling staff was indeed very powerful. But using the Tianling staff, her own strength was still a bit too much. Every time she used the power of the Tianling staff, she had to expend a huge amount of profound energy. If this went on for a long time, her profound jade heart would dry up. Zi Qianqian frowned tightly as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo's direction. Absolutely could not let her evade again. She gripped the staff tightly and was about to release a stronger electric current. Suddenly, Zi Qianqian felt a murderous intent coming from behind. Chapter 1249. Turning his head back, he saw a red afterimage flashing past his eyes. Her neck felt cold and a faint tingling pain. Zi Qianqian held the Tianling staff and raised it horizontally in front of her. Clang! The dagger drawn by the glower flame fan collided with the Tianling staff. The stirred-up profound qi made both of them take a few steps back. After Zi Qianqian steadied herself, she waved the staff and struck down another bolt of lightning, separating the distance between her and Yiqing Luo. Zi Qianqian's fingers touched her neck and touched the sticky liquid. Her blood. Yiqing Luo had used her footwork to avoid the lightning released by the Tianling staff, and was gradually approaching her. If she hadn't reacted fast enough and avoided it, Yiqing Luo's dagger would have directly cut the tendons in her neck. Zi Qianqian squinted her beautiful eyes and wiped the blood on her neck fiercely as a vicious glint flashed past her eyes. That slut actually wanted to kill her in public. Intense hatred and disgust filled her heart. Zi Qianqian gripped the staff tightly and once again condensed profound qi and injected it into the Tianling staff. A ray of black deathly light immediately shrouded the Tianling staff. Then, at the tip of the staff, the eye that looked like a human's eye blinked continuously. The blinking speed was extremely fast. After blinking for a dozen times, that eye suddenly opened wide and fixed its focus in front. In a split second, a ray of black light shot out from that widened eye. Yiqing Luo was shocked by this force. She frowned and stared at the Tianling staff vigilantly. After that collision with the Tianling staff, Yiqing Luo knew that if she used the glower flame fan and the Tianling staff to fight head-on, the glower flame fan would definitely not be the Tianling staff's opponent. It might cause the glower flame fan to break. This Tianling staff was indeed difficult to deal with. Not only could it attack from afar, it could also be used as a close combat weapon, similar to the glower flame fan. Most importantly, the attack of the Tianling staff was obviously much higher than the glower flame fan. Not only her profound grade, it could not match Zi Qianqian's. The quality of the glower flame fan could not be compared to the quality of the Tianling staff. She similarly could not get close to attack, nor could she attack from afar. The sneak attack earlier had made Zi Qianqian vigilant. It would be very difficult for him to launch another sneak attack. Yi Qing Luo, I'd like to see how you're going to hide this time. Zi Qianqian's voice was cold. His words had just ended when he saw the tip of the sky mist staff. One after another black light ball kept on shooting outwards, directly attacking towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. One by one, the black balls of light poured out of the magic staff like beans being poured out of a jar. It showed no signs of stopping. Yi Qing Luo's brows creased as her feet flashed, speedily evading those black light balls. Just as she steadied herself, she heard Yi Fengyu's panicked voice from the direction of low profound class 1. Sister, be careful. What followed were the gasps and gasps of disbelief from the crowd. Yi Qing Luo keenly sensed something. He quickly dodged to the right. The black ball of light that she dodged just now brushed past her arm. Yi Qing Luo could clearly see that when those black light balls passed by her, they actually made a huge turn in midair and attacked her once again. This black ball of light actually locked onto him automatically. Yi Qing Luo's pupils dilated as she silently cursed that this Tianling staff was simply abnormal. He could only dodge the attacks from the balls of light. On the other side, Zi Qianqian had already stopped releasing the black light balls. She tightened her grip on the Tianling staff. Her face was slightly pale as she swayed her body. Her vision swept across the surroundings. The entire arena had already gathered close to 20 over black light balls, one after another, attacking towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. Chapter 1250. Zi Qianqian is despicable. A 7th grade Earth Profound practitioner was actually using the Sky Silk Staff to deal with a 4th grade Earth Profound practitioner. Are you that afraid of losing? What number 1 beauty? I think she's obviously jealous of Yi Qing Luo's beauty, so she thought of such a vicious method to deal with Yi Qing Luo. Bah! What nonsense are you bunch of brainless Yi Qing Luo fans spouting? What does being inferior to others have to do with our number 1 beauty? Our number 1 beauty has the Tianling staff. That is also our number 1 beauty's ability. If you have the ability, let Yi Qing Luo also get a Tianling staff. The onlookers argued incessantly. Suddenly, a sharp voice joined the discussion. Does Sister Qianqian need to be jealous of that slut Yi Qing Luo's beauty? Can that little slut compare to our Qianqian Jia? Sister Qianqian, what's wrong with using the Tianling staff? Why don't you say that Yi Qing Luo that slut's weapon? Isn't it the glower flame fan which the Overlord gave her? Do you think that you can casually control the Tianling staff and release its power? If it wasn't for Sister Qianqian's profound strength being stable, there was simply no way for her to display the might of the Sky Silk Staff. These attacks of the Sky Mist Staff are all executed by relying on my Sister Qianqian's strength. Sentence after sentence of ear-piercing discrimination suppressed Yi Qing Luo's brainless fans. Everyone looked over and saw a faction sitting in a corner. There were about 100 people in the faction's area, and they were all wearing the same clothes. There was a metal pin to their chests, and the word kill was engraved on it. Killing God Mercenary Group's territory. The onlookers immediately understood. Zi Qianqian was the vice group leader of the Death God Mercenary Group, so naturally he would speak up for Yi Qing Luo. Executive leader Wei Bei Lai frowned as he stared fixedly at the battle situation on the stage. To be able to force Qianqian to take out her Sky Silk Staff, Yi Qing Luo is indeed formidable. What's so great about her? Sister Qianqian is too lazy to waste time with her, which is why she used the Tianling staff to end the battle quickly. Nangong Lin coldly snorted. Nangong Firen scolded her younger sister in a deep voice. The injuries she had suffered in the tomb of the Ling King had actually not allowed Nangong Lin to learn how to grow. Nangong Lin pursed her lips. Although she looked displeased, she didn't say anything else. Only then did Nangong Firen look at the arena again. His eyes reflected the red figure that was constantly running. In this match, even if Qianqian takes out the Sky Silk Staff, I'm afraid it will be very strenuous. As soon as Nangong Firen's voice fell, Nangong Lin's eyes widened in disbelief. Brother, you mean Sister Qianqian will lose? Don't you know Sister Qianqian's strength very well? How could that little bitch beat Sister Qianqian? Nangong Firen cast a sidelong glance at her with a hint of warning in her eyes. Then she said faintly, the Tianling staff consumes too much dark force. Miss Ye's reaction speed is extremely fast, and she keeps moving out of the Tianling staff's attack range. This is a competition of endurance. Wei Bailey's frown deepened. Since the last time we met that Miss Yi, how much do you think her strength has increased? Even I am no match for her now, Nangong Firen replied seriously. The last time in Ling Ling King's tomb, their Azura group were tormented by the corpse puppets and king corpses. In the end, only the few of them were left alive. It wasn't because they didn't have enough strength. Otherwise, even they would have died in Ling Ling King's tomb. But under that situation, they knew nothing about Ling Ling King's tomb. Unable to display their skills, they could only listen to Yi Qing Luo's arrangements. At that time, although Yi Qing Luo's arrangements were decisive and neat, but in actual fact, her profound grade was merely mystic profound 8th grade. She had not expected, in less than a month's time, not only did she leap to earth profound 4th grade profound energy outside Ling King's tomb, she had also integrated it into her own body. Apparently, she was doing it with ease. This young lady could really create miracles continuously. The smile on Nangong Firen's lips deepened. Nangong Lin, who was standing by the side, clenched her fists tightly as she pursed her red lips tightly, staring fiercely at Yi Qing Luo on the stage. Damn slut. Chapter 1251. The students who supported Yi Qing Luo, as well as the crowd, were all very nervous. Those who supported Zi Qianqian, or hated Yi Qing Luo, were also very nervous. The situation on the stage, Yi Qing Luo was obviously battered, and in a disadvantageous position. Those 20 over black light balls had completely locked onto Yi Qing Luo. No matter which corner Yi Qing Luo wandered to, those black light balls would chase after her relentlessly. The light balls crashed onto the ground, and the entire stage shook. The stage exploded with a loud bang, one after another deep pit, like a black hole. The surprising thing was, those black light balls which crashed onto the ground, or the side of the stage or the enchantment, didn't explode because of this. Those black light balls, after rebounding, once again followed Yi Qing Luo's aura and pressed towards her, totally not giving Yi Qing Luo any chance to take a breather. This situation made the crowd's heart clenched into a bundle of anxiety. Originally, when they saw Yi Qing Luo easily blocking Zi Qianqian's sword moves, they thought that Yi Qing Luo would win without any suspense. But they didn't expect Zi Qianqian to have the Tianling staff, and could even use it to attack Yi Qing Luo. This kind of ups and downs of emotions was really unbearable. Yi Qing Luo displayed her footwork and ran around the stage for a total of 10 rounds. The black light balls were still following closely behind. Every time the light balls were about to land on her, Yi Qing Luo was able to evade them. She spent an entire instance's time with the black light balls. The black light balls didn't leave any marks on Yi Qing Luo's body. Yi Qing Luo squinted her beautiful eyes as her footsteps moved swiftly. The swoosh swoosh sound behind her seemed to be getting closer and closer to her. She didn't look back, paying attention to the distance between the light balls and herself. Instead, she focused her vision on Zi Qianqian. While avoiding the light balls, she was observing Zi Qianqian's situation. If she didn't guess wrongly, the usage of the Tianling staff required a huge amount of profound energy. Like Zi Qianqian, using the Tianling staff to cast so many locking light balls, the profound energy in his body should have been depleted. Otherwise, Zi Qianqian would definitely not be like this, standing in the middle of the stage, looking at her with a gloomy and vicious look. She, who was being chased by the ball of light, had no way of fighting Zi Qianqian. If she was Zi Qianqian, she would definitely not let go of this opportunity. However, Zi Qianqian did not move. This also meant that Zi Qianqian did not have the ability to attack her now. The corners of Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a cold arc as her eyes were filled with charm. She moved her 5 fingers, and the glowing flame fan instantly unfolded. A bewitching red light shot out from his palm. She injected her profound energy into the glowing flame fan, and it immediately spun like a flying dagger. With an extremely fast speed, it flew straight towards Zi Qianqian. The red light was like a hot knife through butter, as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, it had closed in on Zi Qianqian. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's feet took a turn, and she directly charged towards Zi Qianqian. Two shadows that looked like burning flames attacked him head-on, bringing with them a terrifying killing intent. Zi Qianqian was so shocked that her face turned pale. Yiqing Luo. This was already the strongest killing move of the Tianling staff. As long as one light ball hit Yiqing Luo would die on this stage today. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't fall, these 20 over black light balls would absolutely not stop chasing. Even if Yiqing Luo could hide for a while, she absolutely could not hide forever. Just a little while more, Yiqing Luo would die under the light balls. Chapter 1252. Just as the red light was nearing, Zi Qianqian immediately raised her staff and struck it fiercely. That staff and the glowing fan collided. Two bursts of profound qi intertwined, like streams of airflow, intertwining with each other. The glowing fan maintained its rotation, releasing an oppressive pressure, suppressing the Tianling staff bit by bit. Zi Qianqian only felt that the hand holding the Tianling staff had become numb under the pressure of this rotation. Clang clang. The Tianling staff and the glowing fan contended against each other, once again giving off an ear-piercing collision sound. The black qi of the Tianling staff and the red light of the glowing fan set off a huge airwave, covering the entire arena. Even the surrounding enchantment, because of these two bursts of strong profound qi, kept shaking. Zi Qianqian's face turned paler. Releasing the black light ball earlier had already depleted 2/3 of her profound qi. The remaining energy was not enough to withstand the attack of the glowing fan. The Tianling staff was forced by the tremors of the glowing fan's rotation, as it kept pressing downwards. Her arm was feeling numb, unable to hold on to the Tianling staff. Zi Qianqian knew that once the Tianling staff was forced out of her hands, she would definitely lose this match. The Tianling staff was her last resort. No matter what, she had to hang on before Yiqing Luo was hit by the black light ball. As Zi Qianqian thought about this, the look in his eyes suddenly became fierce. Her other hand held the Tianling staff, gritting her teeth as she surged the last bit of energy in her body. I will let you see the difference between the Tianling staff and the glowing fan. The Tianling staff's body instantly surged out a current of black qi. That black qi instantly swallowed the red light of the glowing fan. That high-speed rotating glowing fan, one round after another, gradually became smaller. Zi Qianqian's lips curled into a complacent smile, as she heaved a sigh of relief and wanted to show off to Yiqing Luo. A few black light balls suddenly flashed past her eyes. Her smile immediately froze on her lips. Her body had reflexively retracted the staff and placed it on her vital point. Bam! It was another sound of weapons clashing, and immediately the profound qi wave on the arena, which had not yet subsided, rolled up once again. Not knowing when, Yiqing Luo was already standing in front of Zi Qianqian. The golden hairpin in her hand was piercing towards Zi Qianqian's neck. As for Zi Qianqian, he used his sky silk staff to block the golden hairpin. The golden hairpin was just an ordinary item. Under the black gas of the Tianling staff, it immediately exploded. That golden hairpin, Zi Qianqian's expression changed drastically, and he raised his hand to touch his hair. Indeed, it was her golden hairpin. Without the golden hairpin holding it in place, Zi Qianqian's long hair fell down. A few of her hair accessories fell to the ground with her intense movements. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's figure suddenly disappeared in front of Zi Qianqian. Yiqing Luo. Zi Qianqian gritted his teeth as he touched his long hair, his eyes filled with intense hatred. Whoosh! Something seemed to brush past his cheek. There was a sharp pain. The sound of something tearing through the air brushed past his ears. It was Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan. Earlier he had anxiously used the Sky Mist staff to block Yiqing Luo's sneak attack. However, He had neglected the glowing flame fan. Zi Qianqian hurriedly raised his sky silk staff and was about to break the glowing flame fan, only to see that glowing flame fan revolved around her, and with a whoosh whoosh whoosh, it spun towards the corner of the arena. Right in front of her, those black light balls, because of Yi Qing Luo's approach earlier, had all crashed to the side of her feet. Boom boom boom. Bam. The arena collapsed, smoke and dust filled the air. The entire arena could no longer be seen clearly. Chapter 1253. TSK. This Zi Qianqian has reaped what she sowed. Why did she have to use such a disgusting trick? Now it has landed on her. The light ball that she created hit herself. This is the first time I've seen such a situation. That light ball's power is so strong that it can destroy the entire arena. Don't tell me Zi Qianqian was smashed to death by her own light ball? The crowd was discussing in a low voice. Although the voices were soft, but it couldn't be compared to the number of people. The more they spoke, the louder the laughter became. Smoke and dust filled the arena. That light ball didn't explode on Yi Qing Luo. One after another, the black light ball was filled with energy as it attacked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. This time, Yi Qing Luo didn't take any evasive action. She raised her slender wrist up high, and the spinning glowing flame fan landed steadily in her palm. Her fingertips moved, and the glower flame fan swept up a hurricane. She faced it head-on and rushed towards those light balls. Blindly evading was not a solution. These balls of light would pursue her relentlessly until they landed on her body. If she chased after this group of black light balls for a long time, even if it was her energy would be depleted. After all, she was a human and not a god. So, Yi Qing Luo had roughly understood from her probing earlier. These black light balls were chasing after her aura. If she used her profound energy to break these black light balls, the light balls collided with her aura. Yi Qing Luo's eyes narrowed as the glower flame fan in her hands danced continuously. The crowd only saw a red figure, like lightning, shuttling through 20 over light balls. But moments later, those light balls collided with the profound chi from the glower flame fan, and after a loud explosion, it vanished into thin air. The arena gradually returned to its tranquility. Only the profound energy's airwave swept up the dust on the ground as it filled the arena. Yi Qing Luo kept her glower flame fan and slowly looked towards Zi Qianqian's direction. After the dust dispersed, Yi Qing Luo's slender brows creased slightly. She saw Zi Qianqian, who was originally engulfed by the black light ball, standing on the same spot. Her face was filled with horror and fear, but there was no sign of injury on her body. The Tianling staff in her hand was flickering, shining with a dark and mysterious black glow. This Tianling staff actually released a spirit formation to protect Zi Qianqian. As expected of a legendary weapon, it even had the consciousness to protect its owner. When he saw Yi Qing Luo clearly, Zi Qianqian then realized that he had not exploded into pieces because of the black ball of light. His heart was filled with shock and fear, but at this moment he relaxed. His body began to tremble uncontrollably. When the spectators saw that Zi Qianqian was protected by the sky silk staff, they all fell into a deathly silence. The offensive power of the Tianling staff was beyond their imagination. He did not expect the Tianling staff to have the consciousness to protect its master. To Yi Qing Luo, this was extremely unfair. Although the rules did not restrict the weapons used by the contestants. However, even if Zi Qianqian won today's match, it would not be glorious. One must know that Yi Qing Luo was someone who possessed a divine relic. Until now, Yi Qing Luo had not used the power of the divine relic. A legendary weapon was already so heaven-defying. If Yi Qing Luo were to use the power of the divine relic, wouldn't it be even more heaven-defying? Qian's sister Qianqian. Below the stage, Nangong Lin stood up and pointed at Zi Qianqian with a trembling finger. Your hair. Hair? Zi Qianqian recalled the sound she heard when the glower flame fan brushed past her cheek. Her face instantly turned pale. Chapter 1254. Nothing at all. There were only a few strands of black hair wrapped around her palm. Her heart suddenly stopped beating, and the blood in her body seemed to have solidified. Trembling hands, she touched upwards. Her fine black hair had been cut off, and now it was only the length of her ears. It was Yiqing Luo. It was Yiqing Luo, who pulled out the golden hairpin that fixed her hair. It was Yiqing Luo, who took the opportunity to use the glower flame fan to cut off her hair. Abominable Yiqing Luo. How dare she touch her hair? Zi Qianqian was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Her eyes were red and tears were welling up in her eyes. When had she ever suffered such humiliation? To a woman, hair was more important than her life. Yet it was cut off so easily by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, I want to kill you. I want to kill you. Zi Qianqian's eyes were scarlet red as she raised her Tianling staff high, and the condensed lightning struck towards Yiqing Luo. The furious Zi Qianqian's lightning was even more violent than before. Yiqing Luo immediately dodged and furrowed her brows while looking at her. Her lips curled into a sneer of ridicule. Student Zi, you're really silly, using the Tianling staff's ability without restraint. Aren't you afraid that your profound qi will dry up and you'll die? Her words had just ended when Yiqing Luo's footsteps extended, and her figure rapidly turned into a red shadow as she approached Zi Qianqian. How could Zi Qianqian listen to Yiqing Luo's words now? Yiqing Luo had ruined the long hair, which she was most proud of as a lady, causing her to completely become the joke of the West continent. How could she still calm down? The staff's attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer. Zi Qianqian's body was also gradually retreating, trying to widen the distance between her and Yiqing Luo. But how could Zi Qianqian's speed compare to Yiqing Luo's? Moreover, Zi Qianqian couldn't catch Yiqing Luo's movements at all. In just a short moment, Yiqing Luo was already behind Zi Qianqian. A cold smile bloomed on her lips. Your speed is too slow. The cold and bewitching voice made Zi Qianqian's back turn cold, as goosebumps appeared all over her body. Immediately after, she felt an ice-cold object pressed against her skin. Zi Qianqian's body stiffened, and he stopped attacking with his Tianling staff. Do you still want to continue? Yiqing Luo sneered. I admit. Zi Qianqian seemed to be afraid. Her delicate body slightly trembled, and her hands, which were holding onto the sky silk staff, curled up tightly. Just as he was about to say the word lose, Zi Qianqian's expression changed abruptly, and he used his elbow to push back. Taking the opportunity when Yiqing Luo was evading, he turned his head around and raised his sky mist scepter, directly striking down fiercely. Yiqing Luo had not expected that Zi Qianqian would take the opportunity to counterattack. Her eyes turned cold and she narrowed her eyes. Her body instinctively took precautions. With a light tap of his feet, he swiftly retreated. The devouring flame fan in his hand opened up, blocking the attack of the Tianling staff. Bye-bye. The sound of weapons colliding rang out, and both sides felt their wrists go numb. Crack! There was another explosion. His voice clearly spread throughout the entire West Wave Square. It was the sound of a weapon breaking. The onlookers were in an uproar. They squeezed their way to the arena, wanting to see whose weapon had been broken. The red light and the black qi were tightly intertwined. A lady in red and a lady in white looked at each other, suppressing a strong murderous intent. After Zi Qianqian heard that explosion, the expression on his face instantly turned joyous. Chapter 1255. The glower flame fan was broken. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. His eyes reflected the cracked gourd flame fan. Subconsciously, she wanted to keep the glower flame fan. How would Zi Qianqian let her off so easily? Let go of the glower flame fan. You destroyed my most precious hair. I will also destroy your most precious weapon. Zi Qianqian gritted her teeth sinisterly, as she injected all her profound energy into the Tianling staff. Black qi appeared. Crack! The strong pressure from the Tianling staff directly broke the glower flame fan. The enchanting glower flame fan broke into two. The entire Westlake Square was silent. The crowd's vision was fixed on the both of them. The sound of the glower flame fan falling onto the stage was exceptionally clear. Yiqing Luo, go to hell! Zi Qianqian's beautiful eyes turned cold as she arrogantly raised her chin, as her lips curled into a complacent smile. She raised the Tianling staff up high as she sent the last burst of profound qi towards Yiqing Luo's head. Bam! A loud sound was heard as a petite figure was flung into the air. A staff suffused with black qi as it tumbled a few times in the air. As it landed on the ground, a petite figure fell heavily on the side of the staff. That's right, on the ground. On the ground outside the stage. It was Yiqing Luo. The moment Zi Qianqian held the Tianling staff tightly and smashed it towards her, Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed coldly. She raised her leg and directly kicked Zi Qianqian's abdomen. Qianqian, Vice Group Leader. A group of people from the Death God mercenary group immediately stood up as they rushed towards Zi Qianqian's direction. Nangong Lin helped Zi Qianqian up, as she was so distressed that she was about to cry. Sister Qianqian, are you alright? Are you alright? Zi Qianqian was still in a daze. Her internal organs were in extreme pain, as though they were about to be torn apart. Nangong Lin saw Zi Qianqian's pale face, as she stared furiously at Yiqing Luo, as she scolded. Yiqing Luo, you slut! It's just a competition. Is there a need to be so ruthless? If it wasn't for my sister Qianqian's power, she would have been killed by you on the stage. In the arena, the girl who stood alone in the same spot with her head lowered was silent. The surrounding waves of air swirled around her hair, but they couldn't sweep away the icy aura around her body. Don't think that just because you beat my big sister Qianqian secretly, you've really won. Just you wait. Seeing that she didn't speak, Nangong Lin's mouth was even more unforgiving. Nangong Firen grabbed his wrist tightly. Nangong Firen was about to tell Nangong Lin to shut up. All of a sudden, a cold gaze swept over. It actually caused them to feel cold air invading their bodies, a chill rising up from the bottom of their feet. His gaze was as cold as a sharp knife, filled with killing intent. He did not conceal his killing intent at all. Even the onlookers, who were used to seeing killing, couldn't help but shudder when they saw this gaze. You. Nangong Lin was so scared that her legs went soft, and she fell to the ground. A pair of stubborn eyes filled with disgust stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. After a long while, he finally found his voice. What do you want to do? This is the venue of the interclass competition. What do you want to do to us? Yiqing Luo laughed softly. That laughter was ethereal and pleasing to the ears, but it was mixed with an eerie chill, as though it was a voice from hell. The smile at the corner of her lips was so beautiful that it could topple cities. Zi Qianqian, a student from the class of gods, Death God mercenary group's vice group leader, Sky Profound 7th grade cultivator. Chapter 1256. In the interclass competition, you used the Tianling staff, but you were still unable to defeat me, a 4th grade Earth Profound practitioner, who only used the devouring flame fan. Yiqing Luo tilted her head and smiled coldly. Zi Qianqian, you've really thrown the face of the class of gods. You, cough, 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 cough. Zi Qianqian was unable to restrain his anger as he propped himself up and pointed at Yiqing Luo with the intention to retaliate. Her body was in so much pain that she couldn't make such an intense move. Yiqing Luo smiled and her smile became even more joyful. Why? Not satisfied? If you're not convinced, then you'd better hold it in too. She then looked at Elder Yun Duan. Elder Yun Duan, please announce the results of the competition. Yun Duan, who was completely stunned by the sudden change in the arena, only reacted after Yiqing Luo's reminder. He coughed dryly. This year's interclass competition has ended successfully. Devil class's student Yiqing Luo has challenged the overseeing main god class's student Zi Qianqian. Student Zi Qianqian has fallen out of the arena stage and has been eliminated. Devil class students have obtained the final victory. No. Zi Qianqian's body trembled as she stretched out her arms towards the clouds. However, her attempts to stop him were futile. She could only watch with her own eyes as the vice president of the main courtyard passed the medal which represented the ultimate champion to Yiqing Luo's hands. Zi Qianqian could even clearly see The moment Yi Qing Luo received the medal, she shot a glance at her. Ridicule, ridicule. There was also a look of mockery. The rage in Zi Qianqian's chest grew more and more vigorous. He forced out a mouthful of blood from his heart. Nangong Lin screamed in panic, and the doctor in the medical hall immediately carried Zi Qianqian away. Before long, the area below the arena regained its tranquility. The crowd looked at Yi Qing Luo. She let Zi Qianqian leave just like that? Could it be that breaking the gourd flame fan didn't matter? How could she still smile? Yi Fengyu had the same thought. How important was the glower flame fan to Yi Qing Luo? Yi Fengyu was well aware of this. But now the glowing flame fan had actually been broken. But Big Sister let Zi Qianqian go. Just as everyone was extremely puzzled, simply unable to see through Yi Qing Luo's thoughts. Just as the vice president of the main courtyard was talking loudly, praising Yi Qing Luo to the point that she was unrivaled in the heavens. Yi Qing Luo squatted down without a word and picked up a broken glower flame fan. Just now, it was broken by the attack of the Tianling staff, and the gourd flame fan was broken into two pieces. One was by his feet, and the other had been swept away by the shockwave. Due to the previous duel, the entire arena was littered with rubble and rocks. As far as the eye could see, there was no trace of the glowing flame fan. After the glower flame fan was broken, the spiritual qi on it also disappeared at that moment, and the connection with Yi Qing Luo was also cut off. Yi Qing Luo used her bare hands to break apart the pieces of stone and found the other section of the glower flame fan. The main courtyard's vice president wasn't infuriated by Yi Qing Luo's rudeness. Instead, he looked at the young lady who was squatting by his feet, rummaging through the stones in admiration. He didn't say anything to stop them, nor did he ask the others to help. He calmly announced the end of the competition and returned to his seat. The competition had ended, and the spectators should have left. However, not a single person moved their feet. They all looked at the young lady, who was constantly rummaging through the arena. That slender little hand was as fair as congealed fat, so delicate that it would turn red if she pinched it. But she kept on rummaging through those stones which were branded on her hands. The sharp stones pricked her hand and fresh blood flowed out. But she didn't care about it at all. Everyone knew what she was looking for. Her exclusive weapon. Chapter 1257. In the hearts of the crowd, there was a surge of surging tide, driving them to do something. But they didn't move. They were all cultivators and had their own weapons. They understood Yi Qing Luo's feelings very well. Breaking a cultivator's life weapon was equivalent to breaking the cultivator's life. Her own life weapon was broken in her own hands. As the owner of her life weapon, she wanted to find her own weapon, not to rely on anyone. The onlookers recalled Nangong Lin's words just now. In their hearts, they started to feel disgusted with Zi Qianqian, the number one beauty in the Heavenly Academy's class of God. It was just a competition. Zi Qianqian had been overbearing, and even used the Tianling staff to defeat Yi Qing Luo, even breaking Yi Qing Luo's life weapon. The one who went overboard, it was Zi Qianqian. The crowd looked at her as she rummaged through the stones. Her fair hands were stained with blood, and their eyes were filled with admiration. Even those who didn't have a good impression of Yi Qing Luo had a feeling of empathy, and the way they looked at Yi Qing Luo became much gentler. All these, Yi Qing Luo had no time to care and didn't want to bother. Her eyes were red as she rummaged through every corner of the stones. The profound qi in her hands slapped away the broken stones, not letting go of any gap. Glower flame fan. She had always thought that the glower flame fan was protecting her, but it was broken in her hands. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips tightly and increased the speed of her hands. One hand was about to flip the stone in front of her. Before she could reach over, a pair of long slender legs appeared in front of her eyes, slightly dazzling. Yi Qing Luo looked up blankly and met with a pair of angry peach blossom eyes. He stretched out a hand towards her. His handsome face was gloomy. Get up. Yi Qing Luo's voice stopped abruptly before she could say the word profound. Both her hands were covered by two warm palms. Her body felt light, and she was forcefully pulled up. So sorry. Yi Qing Luo lowered her eyes. Her eyes were slightly moist. The man's hand gently touched the wound on her hand, bringing a cool touch. The pain gradually disappeared from the places that he had touched. Do you know what you did wrong? He lowered his voice, which was deep and magnetic. Yi Qing Luo's eyelids drooped even lower as she bit her lower lip lightly. I didn't take good care of the glower flame fan. That's your fault. Wrong. The man interrupted her and said coldly, come back with me. This was the first time DMO Xian had used such a tone and expression to talk to her. Yi Qing Luo's eyes reddened as an indescribable feeling of tears welling up in her eyes. She was not a woman who liked to cry. To be more precise, she never shed a single tear. Even if it was hard and tiring, even if they were facing death, she would never cry. Tears were the symbol of the weak. But at this moment, when the glowing flame fan was broken, her heart instantly felt empty. That feeling of emptiness made her feel complicated. And DMO Xian's attitude made the complicated feelings in her heart magnified even more. Suddenly he had an urge to cry. DMO Xian quietly stared at Yi Qing Luo for some time. Although Yi Qing Luo's head was lowered, but that hair which was blown by the wind revealed that pair of reddened eyes. His heart felt as if it was stabbed by a needle. Suddenly something softened. Chapter 1258. Yi Qing Luo then reacted. They were still on the stage, and there were thousands of pairs of eyes watching her. The current DMO Xian was Supreme MO. Just now, she had almost called out his name in front of everyone. She restrained the emotions in her eyes and looked at DMO Xian. I'll look for you later. I want to find the glower flame fan. Saying that, she lowered her eyes and stared at the half of the glower flame fan in her hand. Her voice was very soft. If I can't find the other part of the glower flame fan, I can't be at ease. The glower flame fan that had protected her and accompanied her for such a long time. Even if the glower flame fan was broken, she had to keep the glower flame fan by her side. DMO Xian didn't speak for a long time. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips. Her emotions were complicated, but she still stubbornly didn't give up her decision. After some time, DMO Xian raised his hand and flicked Yi Qing Luo's forehead. Aren't you looking for it? Why are you still in a daze? Yi Qing Luo suddenly raised her head, and her lips curled into a smile. Anne. She squatted down, and was about to continue rummaging through the stones. But her wrist was grabbed by DMO Xian again. His gaze glanced at her hands, his voice was slightly cold. Trying to make me angry? Yi Qing Luo was stunned. Her long curly lashes fluttered lightly. Suddenly, the smile on her lips deepened. She didn't say a word, only smiling and shaking her head. So, DMO Xian was angry, not because she broke the glower flame fan, but because she let herself get hurt in front of him. So he disregarded his status as Supreme MO, and rushed to the stage to stop her self-harm, and took the opportunity to apply ointment on his palm. This man, no matter when, he was able to make her heart beat faster. She was afraid that she would really fall into his hands for the rest of her life. Seeing that Yi Qing Luo really didn't intend to use her bare hands to flip the stones, DMO Xian then restrained the gloomy expression on his face. He let go of Yi Qing Luo's wrist and waved his sleeve. A majestic, profound energy swept up a hurricane, turning the rubble of the entire arena into a tornado. In that floating gravel, Yi Qing Luo saw an indistinct red glow. Her eyes lit up as she tugged DMO Xian's sleeve. After their eyes met, she leaped toward the red light. At the same time, DMO Xian slowed down the release of his profound energy, and the strength of the hurricane subsequently reduced. Yi Qing Luo got closer to that red light, and as expected, it was that half of the glower flame fan. She extended her hand and held the glowing flame fan in her palm. Following that, she turned around and returned to DMO Xian's side. Logically speaking, DMO Xian's majestic dark force was so powerful that even the masters and elders present would feel pressured if they were to approach him. How would an ordinary student dare to go near the hurricane that was stirred up by the profound energy? However, the cooperation between the two of them seemed to have been through a long period of training. Dmo Xian's control over his strength was not the slightest bit off. Yiqing Luo's approaching distance, and the timing of her stretching out her hand to grab the glower flame fan, were exactly the same. Everyone looked at the two of them with a hint of ambiguity and suspicion. Let's go. Dmo Xian's gaze swept across the surroundings as he spoke indifferently. Yiqing Luo replied softly, and followed behind Dmo Xian, as the both of them walked down the stage. The onlookers were still staring at them suspiciously. Were they not going to explain? Wasn't he going to explain himself? Could it be that they had tacitly agreed to it? But these two obviously had no intention to explain. One in front and one behind, they directly walked past the high profound Class 2's waiting area. Chapter 1259. Yiqing Luo's footsteps halted as her heart suddenly stopped. She subconsciously turned her head to look at the vice president. Not knowing when, the vice president was already standing behind her as a pair of sharp eyes wandered between her and Dmo Xian. Senior Mo, you're the elder of the headquarters. Do you know, your every action represents the actions of the headquarters. Dmo Xian's actions had already made the crowd speculate. If Dmo Xian was an old man with white hair and brows, the crowd wouldn't let their imagination run wild. But, unfortunately, Dmo Xian was a young man, and he was so good-looking that he was ranked third in the West Continent's handsome man chart. For such a young and handsome man to take care of such a young and beautiful girl, it was unimaginable. How could it not cause a misunderstanding? The vice president of the headquarters didn't hate Yiqing Luo, but that didn't mean that he could accept an elder of the headquarters having an ambiguous relationship with a student. This would affect the image of the headquarters. Vice President. Dmo Xian glanced at the vice president indifferently before his vision shifted to Yiqing Luo as he smiled elegantly. She is my proudest student. The crowd nodded as though they were enlightened. They had also heard that the elders sent to the Heavenly Academy were directly chosen to teach in the Devil class. With the guidance of the elders from the headquarters, it was no wonder that Yiqing Luo improved so quickly. Yiqing Luo's innate talent was so strong. If they were Yiqing Luo's teachers, they would also be willing to be so gentle to her. Thinking in this way, the crowd calmed down. Earlier when they saw Senior Mo and Yiqing Luo, it was so intimate. Now looking at Senior Mo and Yiqing Luo again, they only felt that their teacher and student relationship was extremely strong. The vice president took a look at the both of them, and didn't continue asking. He only waved his hand and said calmly, "Bring her to the medical hall and bandage her wound. Tonight we will return to the Heavenly Academy, and after resting for 2 days, we will select 10 students from the Devil class to report to the class of gods." This was the reward for defeating the overseer. 10 students could be chosen from the class that won first place to study in the class of gods for a month. Yiqing Luo thanked the vice president. Without exchanging any conventional greetings, she bid farewell and left. West Continent Public Square Town, Restaurant Private Room. The table was filled with delicacies, but no one touched it. Yiqing Luo lowered her head as she looked at the broken glower flame fan in her palm. Not in the mood to eat. Little Luoer, eat something first. Dmo Xian saw her absent-minded look and snatched the gourd flame fan from her hands, putting it aside. Today's match has exhausted so much energy. If you don't eat something, your body won't be able to take it. Yiqing Luo shook her head, her delicate fists tightly curled up. I have no appetite. Seeing this section of the gourd flame fan on the dining table, Yiqing Luo's heart was getting more and more vexed. Her mind recalled the scene when Dmo Xian passed the glower flame fan to her. His long and narrow eyes were curved, and his smile was devilishly charming. He said, "This is a betrothal gift for her." Today, she had broken the betrothal gift that Dmo Xian had personally given to her into two. Dmo Xian remained silent for a moment as he adjusted his sitting posture, and turned around to look at Yiqing Luo. His slender hand held her small hand. The other hand lifted her lower jaw, forcing her gaze to meet his. In the end, why did you let Zi Qianqian off? Dmo Xian gently caressed her skin, as he asked in a warm voice. Yi Qing Luo was stunned. Her eyelashes were like butterfly wings, long and thick, but it was unable to conceal the glint of hatred in her eyes. Chapter 1260. The Vengeful Her. How could she let off Zi Qianqian, who destroyed the glower flame fan so easily? But at that time, Yi Qing Luo did not take any extreme actions. She even allowed Zi Qianqian to be carried away by the doctor in the medical hall to receive treatment. Yi Qing Luo slowly lowered her gaze. Her eyes squinted, revealing a strong murderous intent. That is the competition venue. If I kill her on the spot, not only will I implicate myself, but also the entire Devil class and the World Mercenary Group. The current Devil class and the World Mercenary Group, although their reputations had spread far and wide. Speaking of which, she was the only one who was able to intimidate everyone with her strength. Once she dismembered Zi Qianqian on the spot, not only the Zi family would not let her off, even the academy would not be able to account for it. Devil class's students needed a place like the academy to learn and grow. She could not implicate the Devil class and implicate everyone for her own selfish desires. She could not take revenge on the spot, but she would use her own methods to let Zi Qianqian live. More painful than death. What Zi Qianqian was proud of was just her title as a student in the class of gods, was just her reputation as the #1 beauty, was just her Skymas staff's power. Then, she would destroy what Zi Qianqian was proud of bit by bit. This match, Zi Qianqian's loss, was just the beginning. She would make Zi Qianqian become the joke of the entire West continent, and even the entire Nirvana realm. Yi Qing Luo's gaze gradually fell onto the broken glower flame fan. Her slender fingers gently caressed the fan handle as her brows turned soft. Moreover, the glower flame fan did not hesitate to sacrifice itself in order to protect my victory. I don't want the glower flame fan to sacrifice itself in vain. Yes, in order to protect you, the glower flame fan sacrificed itself. Dmo Xian's warm palm had already floated onto her hair. His large palm fixed the back of her head. He said in a low voice, "So all the more for the glower flame fan, at least don't let yourself fall." Yi Qing Luo raised her eyes in a daze, looking at Dmo Xian's peerless face. That pair of glistening, gentle peach blossom eyes seemed to sink into the heart of a warm current. Furthermore, Dmo Xian dragged out the last syllable. His long and narrow eyes outlined a demonic curve. Who told you that once the glower flame fan is broken, it is completely broken? In Yi Qing Luo's mind, there seemed to be a white light that suddenly exploded. Her charming eyes lit up as she speedily grabbed Dmo Xian's wrist. What did you just say? The devouring flame fan was broken, but was it not completely broken? In other words, Dmo Xian had a way to restore the glower flame fan? Before I answer your question, you have to answer mine seriously first. Dmo Xian's eyes gleamed slightly. His 5 fingers suddenly exerted strength and pulled Yi Qing Luo into his embrace. Her face was pressed against his chest. The scorching heat also scalded her face. Yi Qing Luo's little hand clutched tightly onto the lapel in front of his chest as she replied anxiously, "Ask, I will answer seriously." Dmo Xian's attitude meant that he definitely had a way to reconstruct the glower flame fan. Why do you care so much about the ghastly flame fan? A low and hoarse voice, like mellow wine, lingered beside his eardrums. Yi Qing Luo suddenly felt her whole body go limp. Her little hand instinctively clutched his lapel even tighter. Dmo Xian's voice was even lower. The slightly raised ending syllable once again made Yi Qing Luo's body go limp. Chapter 1261. Just because of this. Dmo Xian raised his eyebrows as he teased. Yi Qing Luo was stunned as she loosened her grip on his clothes. She understood the meaning behind Dmo Xian's question. Her face flushed red instantly. If you don't answer seriously, you won't get the answer to the question you want to know. Dmo Xian gave a low laugh. This girl was so adorable that he couldn't wait to rub her into his body. Yi Qing Luo buried her head in his arms and dawdled for a long time. After a long time, she muttered in a low voice, She couldn't understand what she was talking about. Diemo didn't intend to let her fool him. His slender fingers lifted Yi Qing Luo's chin in a domineering and overbearing manner. Under the reflection of her pupils, her rosy red lips curled into a devilish smile. I can't hear you. A low husky magnetic male voice knocked into her eardrum. The warm breath fell on her skin and made her feel ticklish. Yi Qing Luo blushed furiously as she stared at Diemo angrily. She exerted force and sat on Diemo body. Her little hand propped on his chest as she put on a fierce look like a queen and said fiendishly, "The glower flame fan is the gift you gave me. You said it was a betrothal gift." After that, she stared at the man's rising arc and gritted her teeth as she lowered her head and bit hard on his lips, growling angrily, "Are you satisfied now?" Hiss! Diemo was in pain as he held her slender waist tightly with one hand and stroked his lips which were bitten. He couldn't help but chuckle. Little wild cat. Yi Qing Luo snorted coldly. You deserve to be bitten to death. What a shameless beast. Flirting with her at the slightest disagreement. And it was the kind of flirting that made her blush. Biting him was already considered as her mouth being merciful. Diemo saw her blushing face and knew that if he continued to tease her, the little wild cat would explode. He restrained his teasing thoughts and said gently, Satisfied, satisfied. Little wild cat makes me so satisfied, so I decided to tell you the method to restore the glower flame fan." When Yi Qing Luo heard that, her expression immediately turned serious as she looked at him solemnly, waiting for his answer. Diemo held her little hand, brought it to his lips and gently kissed it, whispering, "Do you still remember the attributes of the glower flame fan?" Attributes? Yi Qing Luo recalled everything in her mind. It seemed like, when Diemo gave her the glower flame fan, Old Man Song had said, "The ghastly flame fan is an attribute that can grow." There was only one ghastly flame fan in the world, and it was not as precious as the Tianling staff. It was not a legendary weapon. However, what made people envious was the glowing flame fan's ability to grow. The glowing flame fan could be upgraded according to the user's abilities. Growth attribute. What does it have to do with repairing the broken glower flame fan? Yi Qing Luo asked in puzzlement. Diemo pinched her forehead lightly. Because it is an attribute that can grow. The breaking of the ghastly flame fan to the ghastly flame fan is not destruction but a new beginning. The more Yi Qing Luo listened, the more confused she became. Seeing Yi Qing Luo's bewildered look, Diemo sighed and changed his way of explaining. Before the ghastly flame fan broke, although it was used by you, but to the ghastly flame fan, you are not its real owner. The ghastly flame fan can be restored, but I need something from you. Hearing this, Yi Qing Luo linked the words before and after, and immediately understood the meaning behind Diemo words. Chapter 1262. To restore the glower flame fan, it required a drop of Yi Qing Luo's heart blood and her heart bone. Using these two things as raw materials, the armament master would recast the glower flame fan. It would definitely be able to restore the glower flame fan and make the connection between the glower flame fan and Yi Qing Luo stronger. I will use profound energy to extract the heart blood and heart bone for you. Diemo looked at the young lady in front of him. His eyes filled with determination as he gently caressed her cheek. Yi Qing Luo nodded. But, armament master, I don't know any armament master. If it was refining pills, she could still volunteer. But refining armaments? She didn't seem to have heard of anyone among the people she knew who studied weapon forging. Moreover, the glower flame fan could grow, and was second only to the legendary grade weapon. Ordinary armament masters had no way to restore it. At least, the armament master's grade had to reach armament sect and above. Armament masters and alchemists were similar. From low to high, the order was armament slave, armament apprentice, armament master, armament grandmaster, armament sect, armament emperor, armament immortal, armament god. The only difference was armament sect level armament master was even more difficult than alchemist level alchemist. The success rate of armament refining was even more difficult than alchemist level. Even if Yiqing Luo knew some armament masters, but there was absolutely no one who could reach armament sect level. The Imperial Palace has one. Since DMO Xian said this method, naturally he knew some armament sect armament masters. He cupped Yiqing Luo's face with both hands as he closed the distance between them. But he paused for a moment, and then said with a somewhat cautious tone, "The equipment forger was a woman." Yiqing Luo's joyous expression instantly froze on her lips. "Lady? Why were there so many ladies in the Imperial Palace?" She frowned slightly, as an inexplicable feeling of resistance arose in her heart. An image of Feng Ling holding onto DMO Xian's arm appeared in her mind, occupying her position. Suddenly it flashed, and the scene of DMO Xian and Feng Ling getting married appeared in the illusion. Her hands, which were placed on DMO Xian's shoulders, suddenly pinched hard as she snorted. "Don't look for her. Isn't it just a armament sect level armament master? We can slowly look for her. She's not the only armament sect level armament master in this world." "But is there a but?" Yiqing Luo's eyes opened wide. She hadn't forgotten that the reason why DMO Xian called Feng Ling over from the Imperial Palace was to break the enchantment which the dark forces had conjured. Now, because of the restoration of the glower flame fan, if there was a second wind chime, she would not be able to control herself and strangle DMO Xian to death. DMO Xian's gaze passed over her shoulder and fixed on a certain spot. "But she's already here." Yiqing Luo froze. Loosening her grip on DMO Xian's clothes, she followed his line of sight and looked behind her. Sure enough, a woman in a light blue dress with long sleeves drifting in the wind slowly walked over with a faint smile on her face. Standing in front of the both of them, the woman knelt down on one knee and paid her respects to DMO Xian. This subordinate pays her respects to Sir Overlord. She paused, and a teasing look flashed across her eyes. "Greetings, Mistress of the Imperial Palace." "And Mistress?" Yiqing Luo held her breath as she turned her head to look at DMO Xian. DMO Xian caressed her hair and waved his hand. "Beiyuan, get up first." The woman stood up and walked to the seat opposite DMO Xian. As she sat down, a pair of crafty and teasing eyes sized Yiqing Luo up from head to toe. The relationship between Sir Overlord and Mistress of the Imperial Palace is really good. But let's settle the proper business first. When Yiqing Luo heard that, her cheeks flushed red instantly. Chapter 1263. In this era, this kind of posture could be considered as immoral. Even between husband and wife, they didn't dare to do such an action in such a noisy place like the restaurant. Yiqing Luo's only thought now was to dig a hole in the ground and disappear in front of these two people's eyes. In front of DMO Xian's subordinates, she sat on DMO Xian's thighs and even pestered him to be jealous. How would she have the face to meet the other people in the Imperial Palace in future? Yiqing Luo wanted to cry, but no tears came out. It was all that crazy beast's fault. When he flirted with her, he didn't even tell her in advance that there would be other people coming. Yiqing Luo raised her fist and wanted to punch DMO Xian. But when he remembered that there was a beautiful woman looking at the two of them with a smile on her face, he couldn't help it. She suppressed her anger and retracted her hand. She stood up and speedily returned to her seat. "Lo Luor." "Ha ha ha." DMO Xian was tickled by her actions as he laughed out loud. That peerless face, because of that smile, looked even more handsome. Yiqing Luo was furious as she stared at him fiercely. "Shameless beast, just you wait. Now that your subordinate is here, I will give you face. Later your subordinate will leave. I'll peel your skin off in minutes." DMO Xian raised his brows as his eyes narrowed. "All right, I will wait for you." The two of them exchanged flirtatious glances, which made the beautiful lady, sitting by the side, unable to restrain her laughter. She crossed her arms leisurely as she leaned back on the chair, looking at DMO Xian in ridicule. Noticing the lady's gaze, Yiqing Luo was really tempted. Damn it. There was probably no chance for her to establish her prestige in the Imperial Palace in future. The beautiful lady's beautiful eyes were filled with smiles as she looked at Yi Qing Luo's direction and spoke respectfully. I am Tang Beiyuan, the Imperial Palace's armament refining hall master, and also the Overlord's exclusive armament master. Saying that, she raised her brows with some interest. But what the Imperial Palace's mistress is worried about will absolutely not happen. Although I am the Overlord's exclusive armament master, but my life belongs to another man. Yi Qing Luo heard that, and knew that this lady was ridiculing what she said to DM Ocean earlier. But Yi Qing Luo didn't hear any bit of disgust or displeasure. Tang Beiyuan's teasing was kind. Tang Beiyuan was not as well behaved as Wind in front of DM Ocean. This was enough to prove that Tang Beiyuan and DM Ocean's relationship was rather harmonious. Tang Beiyuan had just said that her life belonged to another man. This sentence, "You're married?" Such a young and outstanding woman. How could she have gotten married so early? Tang Beiyuan shook her head with a bitter smile. We're not married yet, but I don't think I'll have to wait too long. She didn't even have the confidence to say the last word maybe. Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth, but didn't know what to say. It was obvious that Tang Beiyuan was genuinely in love with her fiancé. As for the reason why they didn't get married, Yi Qing Luo didn't ask too much. After all, this was only the first time they had met. One thing was certain. Just as Tang Beiyuan had said, what she was worried about would never happen. I'm sorry. Yi Qing Luo opened her mouth gently, apologizing for her action of assuming that Tang Beiyuan was the second Feng Ling, before they had even met. Chapter 1264. Subdue. Tang Beiyuan's choice of words seemed a little. This is the first time I've seen such an overlord. Tang Beiyuan propped her chin as her beautiful eyes stared at DM Ocean's face. The current overlord finally looks like a human. Yi Qing Luo glanced sideways at DM Ocean. Looks like a human? What kind of evaluation was that? Could it be, DM Ocean didn't look like a human in the past? Yi Qing Luo recalled her past self, living like a machine that exhausted all its energy for the secluded Yi family. She didn't look like a human at that time. Could it be that DM Ocean was the same as her in the past? Yi Qing Luo felt like laughing as she imagined the past DM Ocean. Beiyuan. DM Ocean berated Tang Beiyuan's name, but his tone didn't have any signs of majesty. He looked at Yi Qing Luo, who was still laughing, as one hand slid under the table towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. His slender fingers silently covered Yi Qing Luo's legs. Ah! Yi Qing Luo's petite body stiffened as a short cry came out from her mouth. Tang Beiyuan looked at her in puzzlement. What's the matter? No, nothing. Yi Qing Luo's petite body trembled slightly, as she shook her head with a blushing face. His hand actually. Using the table as a cover, his fingers gently and slowly brushed past her legs. From time to time, it brushed past her thighs. For the convenience of the competition, Yi Qing Luo had designed the uniform to be extremely tight. The trousers below the skirt were almost stuck to her skin. DM Ocean's hand swept past her tight trousers, which was equivalent to touching the skin on her legs. That layer of trousers made her feel even more itchy. Mistress, why is your face so red? Tang Beiyuan saw that Yi Qing Luo didn't seem to be fine, and immediately looked at DM Ocean. Overlord, is mistress feeling unwell? DM Ocean lifted the teacup elegantly and drank a mouthful of tea. She's thin-skinned, and is regretting after you saw her fierce look earlier. Tang Beiyuan nodded her head as she retracted her worried gaze. Mistress, don't worry. I won't tell anyone else in the Imperial Palace about today's matter. Yi Qing Luo gave a few dry laughs as her body tensed up. She gave a dry laugh as she turned her head, and gave DM Ocean a warning stare. Where did this beast learn to flirt with girls? Unexpectedly, he actually did such a thing to her under the table. The more she stared, the hand on her thigh became more and more wanton. Furthermore, it faintly brushed past the inside of her great moon retreat, causing her to tremble even more violently. What made Yi Qing Luo unable to balance was, the Emperor Avian calmly sipped its tea. Yi Qing Luo's little face was burning as she saw Diamo Xian ignoring her gaze. She clenched her teeth and simply picked up the teacup as her other hand slid under the table, without anyone noticing, and held onto Diamo Xian's large palm. Just as she touched Diamo Xian's hand, Diamo Xian had already planned this beforehand as he held her wrist in reverse. Yi Qing Luo struggled and his grip tightened. Just as Yi Qing Luo flew into a rage out of humiliation, putting down the teacup, and was about to add her other hand into the battlefield, Diamo Xian timely brought the topic back to business. Beiyuan, the glower flame fan is here. Take a look and see how confident you are. Saying that, he pushed the glower flame fan, which was broken into 2 pieces, towards Tang Beiyuan. Yi Qing Luo's resistance stopped. At this moment, she had no mood to continue messing around with Diamo Xian. Chapter 1265. Tang Beiyuan fiddled with the broken glowing fan. She glanced at the gap and rolled her eyes. Di Zun, are you questioning my skills? Diamo Xian glanced at the young lady beside him. Tang Beiyuan nodded her head as her fingers caressed the glower flame fan, and smiled at Yi Qing Luo. Mistress, I have 100% confidence. 100%. Which meant 100% of the glower flame fan could be restored. Yi Qing Luo's eyes lit up as she looked at Diamo Xian in delight. The glower flame fan can be restored. It can be restored. Luckily, the glower flame fan was a growing attribute. There was still room for redemption. His heart, which had been hanging in the air, slowly sank into the bottom of his heart. Her little hand clenched the big palm on her thigh. I'm ready to extract the heart bone and blood anytime. Diamo Xian's fingers caressed her palm as he said warmly, You must be tired from today's competition and exhausted too much energy. Forcefully extracting the heart bone and blood will affect your body. Extract the heart bone and blood, preferably in the wee hours of the morning, the second bell. Tang Beiyuan continued. Wee hours? Yi Qing Luo looked at Diamo Xian. Can we do it tonight? Before that, if your body can meet the requirements of extracting the heart bone and blood, yes. Diamo Xian didn't object. Knowing that the glower flame fan could be restored, and with 100% confidence, Yi Qing Luo didn't insist any further. Today's competition was too dangerous, and she was indeed tired. After the meal, Tang Beiyuan stayed in the restaurant. As for Diamo Xian and Yi Qing Luo, they returned to the dormitory. Yi Qing Luo needed a good rest. After the interclass competition, there were 2 days of free time. It was said that because of the interclass competition, the students had been tense for a long time and used profound energy on a large scale, so it gave the students time to relax. In fact, these 2 days, it was to let the students report their results back to their elders, or stay at the West Square, and get to know the forces from all over the world. If he was lucky, he would be able to decide which faction he would belong to after he graduated from the academy in the next 2 days. The 2 of them had just arrived at the entrance of the mansion when they saw a group of students dressed in class uniforms surrounding the entrance tightly. Those students were mostly youngsters, but when he looked inside, he saw many girls who were talking at once and laughing joyfully. As far as the eye could see, there were at least 50 to 60 people. Towards this kind of excitement, Yi Qing Luo had always had no interest, especially now that her mind was preoccupied with repairing the glowing flame fan. But when she passed by the entrance, Yi Qing Luo obviously heard those ladies mentioning her name. Not only that, there were also Supreme Mo's words. Yi Qing Luo's footsteps halted as her slender brows creased slightly, as she looked at those students who were surrounding her. Just as she was about to walk over, her body was forcefully pulled towards the mansion by Diamo Xian. Don't bother about unimportant people. The most important thing now is for you to return to your room and have a good rest. Yi Qing Luo staggered a few steps forward as she looked at Diamo Xian in puzzlement. However, she found that his expression was a little ugly, as if he was trying to hold back some emotions. His eagerness to pull her away did not seem to be just to let her rest earlier. Instead, what were those students talking about when they were gathered together? Yi Qing Luo turned her head and swept a glance in the direction of the 50 to 60 students. Although she had doubts in her heart, but she tactfully didn't ask too much. Suddenly, a melodious laughter was heard from behind. "Brother Supreme Mo, you're finally back." Chapter 1266. A jade green figure forcefully knocked Yi Qing Luo away. Yi Qing Luo didn't pay attention and was knocked back a few steps. She looked up and saw Feng Ling holding Dmo Xian's arm tightly. "Brother Supreme Mo, Xiaoling has waited for a long time. You're finally back." Yi Qing Luo steadied herself, and a trace of coldness surfaced in her eyes. How did Feng Ling know that Dmo Xian was Supreme Mo? Why was Feng Ling here? Xiaoling let go. Dmo Xian's expression sank as his cold eyes swept past the woman who was holding his arm. The disgust in his eyes was obvious. Feng Ling pursed her red lips. It wasn't that she didn't see the disgust in Dmo Xian's eyes, but she still wasn't willing to let go of him. No matter how much Dmo Xian hated her, Dmo Xian couldn't reject her completely. As long as her grandma was around, she could do whatever she wanted without any scruples. Feng Ling restrained the surging emotions in her heart and hugged Dmo Xian's arm tighter. She practically buried Dmo Xian's arm right into that proud ravine on her chest. "Brother Supreme Mo, don't chase Xiaoling away. Xiaoling will be obedient and won't disturb you." Feng Ling softened her tone and begged for mercy. Shaking Dmo Xian's arm, it brushed past her proud place. Dmo Xian's expression was overcast, and the fingers on his arm were clenched into a fist. His voice was cold and filled with warning. "Let go." Feng Ling was so frightened by the coldness in his eyes that her whole body trembled, and her heart beat in fear. But she still didn't let go of Dmo Xian's arm. She licked her red lips, which were dry from nervousness, and simply buried her entire body into Dmo Xian's embrace. Just as Feng Ling was about to bury herself in Dmo Xian's arms, her arm suddenly felt a tingling pain. Immediately after, his body felt light as he was fiercely flung away by a strong force. "Ah!" Feng Ling fell heavily on the ground and let out a scream. Pain! The intense pain spread from her buttocks. Her whole body felt like her bones were broken, and the pain was indescribable. The pain on her body couldn't compare to the pain in her heart. Feng Ling's eyes were red and her delicate face was pale. He actually pushed her away. Furthermore, he had pushed her away in such a rough manner. Did Brother D hate her that much? Was he so disgusted that he felt annoyed just by looking at her? "Little Ling, are you alright?" "Teacher Mo, she's your fiancée after all. How could you treat her like this?" "Esteemed Teacher Mo, you are our teacher. You should set a good example. By treating your fiancée like this, are you teaching us how to treat our fiancés in the future?" The students who were originally surrounding Feng Ling immediately went forward and helped Feng Ling up while defending her. There were a few students who stared furiously at the expressionless Yi Qing Luo, who was standing by the side. Yi Qing Luo noticed it. The students looked at her, as if they were looking at a vixen. A fiancé? Even using her toes, Yi Qing Luo could imagine what Feng Ling and these students were discussing about earlier. It was none other than Feng Ling, was Supreme Mo's fiancé. As for Supreme Mo, because of her a proud student, he treated Feng Ling, his fiancée, coldly. Hence, Feng Ling came here to call back her fiancé's love for herself and so on, even if it wasn't what Yi Qing Luo had imagined. But the content was almost the same. Yi Qing Luo only had 2 words to express her current feelings. Chapter 1267. Fiancé. Dmo Xian squinted his peach blossom eyes as he repeated the 3 words softly. Feng Ling, who stood up with the help of the students, looked at him anxiously. She bit her red lips lightly, looking as though she wanted to say something but stopped. Dmo Xian sneered as his thin lips twitched as he looked at Feng Ling and repeated the words again. "Fiancé him? Mo, Brother Supreme Mo." Feng Ling sobbed softly as her pair of beautiful eyes and eyelashes were already wet with tears. That pitiful and weak look made one feel pity for her. "Don't be afraid, little Ling. even if he's the elder of the headquarters. If he's so fickle and doesn't acknowledge his fiancée, then we'll report this matter to the headquarters. The one who stood out to speak was a female student from High Profound Class 2. High Profound Class 2 had now become a joke. Under Lu Xuelan's intentional embellishment, all the students were certain that this time they had lost all their face, and were going to be demoted was all because of Yiqing Luo's sinister and cunning. The female student pulled Feng Ling behind her, and pointed towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Master Supreme Mo, touch your own conscience and say, do you treat her as your student or as a woman? With someone taking the lead to speak, the other female students' emotions were also infected. That's right, Master Supreme Mo. You already have a fiancé, so you shouldn't be so ambiguous with female students. What's more, student Yiqing Luo and the overlord already have that kind of improper relationship. Student Yiqing Luo, don't you feel guilty for ruining their fiancé relationship? The female students were filled with righteous indignation. There were some female students who could empathize with her, and felt that a woman's fate was really miserable, as they directly walked up to Yiqing Luo, pointing at her and scolding Vixen. For a moment, the entire entrance of the dormitory was bustling with noise. Dmo Xian's frosty eyes were as sharp as a blade. He lifted his feet, and was about to walk towards Yiqing Luo, when he was stopped by a gaze from Yiqing Luo. His footsteps paused slightly, and when his gaze met Yiqing Luo, it eased up slightly. Yiqing Luo looked at the two female students, and raised her brows with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Are you done? The profound energy, which was released invisibly, made the two female students feel pressured. They trembled and took a few steps back, not daring to speak again. Since you're done then, listen to me. Yiqing Luo took a step forward slowly. The two female students retreated in fear. One of them felt her legs wobbling, and when Yiqing Luo got closer, she collapsed onto the ground as she grabbed onto another female student's trousers tightly. The female student raised her leg in fear, and kicked the student who had fallen to the ground away. She hurriedly rushed towards the crowd. Yiqing Luo stood firmly next to that female student as she bent down and looked down at her. Last night, at the entrance of Gentle Village, I saw you dressed up gorgeously with a man. Her voice paused, her thin eyebrows slightly raised, and the corners of her mouth carried a teasing smile. The female student's face instantly turned pale. Ignoring her fear, she shouted angrily, "You're slandering me. I was with my classmates at the mansion last night. How could I go to a place like the Village of Tenderness?" The Land of Tenderness was the green wooden pavilion of the West Billow Square. An unmarried woman in a land of gentleness. If this matter were to be spread out, her reputation would be completely ruined. The female student's explanation didn't gain the trust of the surrounding people. The students were all pointing fingers at her. Chapter 1268. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped as she looked at that hand which was clutching her tightly. She didn't struggle free, but only raised her eyes as she met that female student's gaze with a smile, which didn't look like a smile. Then which eye of yours saw me spoiling their fiancé relationship? What rights do you have to spout nonsense and ruin my reputation? The female student's hysterical roar came to an abrupt stop. The sounds of discussion in the surroundings also stopped abruptly. Yiqing Luo raised her hand as her slender fingers held onto that hand, which was on her lapel. One finger, she pried her apart. Anyone can say such slanderous words and anyone can say it. You just treat it as something which you say casually, but have you ever thought about the serious consequences it will cause to others? Yiqing Luo's voice was very soft, but it carried an irresistible charm. The invisible pressure which was released made everyone's gazes unknowingly revolved around her. Easily listening to someone's words, I don't know if I should laugh at your naivety or at your stupidity. Yiqing Luo shook off the female student's hand as she looked at her condescendingly. How long have you known Feng Ling for? Just act coquettishly, give in and obediently become her tool. The female student's expression changed. All the students' gazes instantly turned towards Feng Ling. The female student who was originally blocking in front of Feng Ling also slowly shifted her body as she turned her head towards Feng Ling, her eyes filled with suspicion. That's right. How long had they known Feng Ling for? Just based on a few words from Feng Ling, they had already scolded Master Mo? Those few students who had voiced out earlier felt a chill down their spines as they broke out in cold sweat. The gazes which they shot towards Feng Ling became increasingly unfriendly. I didn't. What I said is all true, she did it on purpose. Feng Ling panicked as she stuttered to explain. She had not expected Yiqing Luo to be so quick-witted. Just a few words and she had made those students who were on her side, who were filled with righteous indignation to stand up for her, instantly betray. You. Yiqing Luo suddenly pointed towards that female student from High Profound Class 2. The female student's body stiffened, as she didn't even dare to breathe loudly. You said that I have an improper relationship with the Overlord. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. The smile on her lips was elegant, like a dream or fantasy. However, that pair of charming eyes, which were suffused with rippling light, was so cold that it caused one's entire body to shiver. Let me make a correction. The Overlord and I are in a serious relationship. Don't use the word improper on us. All the students sucked in a breath of cold air. Was she openly admitting that she had a close relationship with His Majesty, the Overlord? Didn't they say that they were master and disciple? Could it be that they had advanced from master and disciple to that kind of relationship? But Yiqing Luo didn't give them any time to digest. Instead, he walked straight to wind chimes. His steps were light and slow, but he carried a strong and intimidating aura. Windling was so frightened that she retreated. She instinctively wanted to seek help from the people around her. However, the students who were comforting her gently and standing beside her, just a moment ago, didn't seem to see her pleading eyes. Yiqing Luo smiled. Her smile was extremely joyous. Those who can be easily persuaded by you can also be easily persuaded by others. She moved closer to Feng Ling's ear and whispered. The human heart was like this. Listening to the wind was the wind, listening to the rain was the rain. But she didn't know how to personally verify whether it was the wind or the rain. Looking at Windling's pale little face, she looked as though she had suffered a huge blow and was extremely frail. Her smile became even more enchanting and radiant as her vision slowly turned towards the man, who was looking at her silently with a doting gaze. Chapter 1269. Hearing Yiqing Luo's question, Feng Ling's petite body shuddered. Her gaze was immediately glued to Demo Xian's body. A pair of reddened eyes and her wet eyelashes fluttered incessantly. Just a moment later, the bean-sized tears rolled down from the corner of her eyes. Her pitiful look was obviously begging Demo Xian not to expose her in front of everyone. Feng Ling was very clear. Under Yiqing Luo's conscious guidance, these students had developed an extreme distrust towards her. If Demo Xian denied that she was his fiancée, that also meant that the story she had fabricated earlier was indeed false. Which meant that she was indeed like what Yiqing Luo said, making use of everyone's sympathy, using everyone as a tool. How indignant those students were to stand up for her just now. After knowing the truth, how indignant they would be, accusing her of using and lying. These students, they would peel off her skin. Just imagining the consequences in her mind, Feng Ling's body couldn't stop trembling. Demo Xian didn't speak for a long time. Her mood was getting more and more uneasy. Finally, Feng Ling couldn't hold it in any longer, and directly rushed towards Demo Xian's direction. Brother Mo Supreme, quickly answer them. Didn't you promise Grandma that you will do your best to protect little Ling? Feng Ling stretched out her hand, trying to hug Demo Xian's arm. In his words, he deliberately emphasized the word grandma. But the progress in Feng Ling's thoughts were completely in the opposite direction. Her hand had yet to touch Demo Xian. Demo Xian dodged sideways. Feng Ling's hand, froze in midair, looked at him incredulously. That face which made her crazy had no emotions at all. That pair of eyes which made her intoxicated was so cold as if it was quenched with ice. He stood there, without any adornment in his master's robe, swaying in the wind, like a banished immortal. His rosy thin lips, bit by bit, curled into an arc which made her sink in. Feng Ling was so frightened that her delicate body trembled, almost crying out loud. From Dmo Xian's action of avoiding her, Feng Ling had already guessed his choice. She is not my fiancée. Dmo Xian's voice was calm, his expression indifferent. His words were like needles stabbing into wind chimes' eardrums. Her head was throbbing, and she could clearly hear something breaking in her chest. Brother Supreme Mo. Feng Ling miserably called out Dmo Xian's name. She could not believe that even if she brought out her grandmother, the man she loved still mercilessly exposed her. Through the corner of her eyes, Feng Ling glanced at the girl, who was standing on the other side, and looking at her provocatively. His cheeks felt like they were on fire. A sense of humiliation arose spontaneously. The person her brother D respected the most was her grandmother. But now, for the sake of one woman and another woman, her big brother D was even willing to disregard his own grandmother. What was so good about Yi Qing Luo? What was good about Yi Qing Luo? Why did her brother D treat her in this way? Because of Yi Qing Luo. The more Feng Ling thought about it, the more unbalanced she felt. His hatred towards Yi Qing Luo intensified. Suddenly, a quiet and low voice sounded in his ears. His voice was so soft that only the two of them could hear him. Little Ling, don't waste all the kindness that your grandmother had painstakingly accumulated for you. You know very well that this lord's patience is not good. She is my reverse scale. Just 3 simple sentences, but it seemed as if there were turbulent waves surging in Feng Ling's heart. He was warning her. He wanted to tell her. Chapter 1270. This knowledge made Feng Ling's body sway slightly. Her entire body was weak, and she almost fell onto the ground. A bone-piercing chill extended from her feet to her heart. Her entire body seemed to be wrapped in ice, just because she had tarnished Yi Qing Luo's reputation. So, Dmo Xian also wanted to tarnish her reputation? Because he was worried that Yi Qing Luo would misunderstand. So, Dmo Xian avoided her from getting close to him? Just to please Yi Qing Luo. So, Dmo Xian could ignore her grandmother's kindness? Heh. Hee. Windling chuckled softly. The pain of her heart tearing made her wish that she was dead. Miss Feng, Senior Master Mo is an elder of the headquarters. I'm very curious. Who sent you to purposely defame Senior Master Mo? A clear voice sounded from the side. Yi Qing Luo smiled lightly as she gazed at Feng Ling. Or perhaps, you're purely admiring Master Mo, so you're delusional that you're his fiancé? So you intentionally instigated the students, attempting to force Master Mo to accept your disrespectful delusions for your sake? Yi Qing Luo's words instantly made those students who were originally infuriated by Feng Ling burst out laughing. Pairs of disdainful eyes fell on Feng Ling. Looking at Feng Ling was like looking at a nauseating love-struck fool. Feng Ling had grown up in the imperial palace since young. Because of her grandmother, she had always been the center of attention since young, as everyone revolved around her. Since when had she suffered such humiliation? Her face turned pale as tears uncontrollably flowed out. Her teary eyes stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. She turned around and covered her face as she sobbed softly and walked far away. A few female students chased after her, as they scolded and swore that the next time they saw Feng Ling, they would definitely catch her and give her a good beating. As for the other male students, when they saw Feng Ling's pitiful crying look as she left, they couldn't bear to chase after her. For a moment, all the students were discussing about what happened earlier. Yi Qing Luo guessed. Probably in less than a joss stick's time, the entire West Lawn Public Square would probably know about a lady named Feng Ling, shamelessly deceiving everyone, delusional that she was Master Mo Xian's fiancée. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she shot a glance at Dmo Xian and snorted lightly. Without looking back, he walked into the dormitory and returned to his room. Although she appeared to be so arrogant on the surface, in actual fact, Dmo Xian's actions of avoiding Feng Ling's touch and publicly denying Feng Ling's lies had completely pleased her. Now Winchim had become a joke in West Billow Square. Yiqing Luo expressed that her mood had already bloomed, although it wasn't clear what was the relationship between Dmo Xian and the Imperial Palace's grandma. It was unclear what kind of feelings were involved between Dmo Xian and Grandma Earth Palace. But the only thing that Yiqing Luo could confirm was that Dmo Xian truly respected the Imperial Palace's granny. Otherwise, Feng Ling would not have used her grandmother to threaten Dmo Xian time and time again. For her, Dmo Xian rejected Feng Ling. She was already very satisfied. Yiqing Luo quickly returned to her room, waiting for Dmo Xian to sneak into her room to look for her. Dmo Xian indeed intended to chase after them, but before he could even lift his leg, those students who chased after Feng Ling had already turned back and surrounded him. The students apologized for listening to Feng Ling's words earlier and reprimanding Master Mo Xian. Deeply afraid that Master Mo Xian would blame them, pulling and pulling, they refused to let Dmo Xian leave no matter what. With Dmo Xian's current status, it wasn't convenient for him to fly into a rage and chase these students away. The crowd surged and one by one, black heads swayed in front of his eyes. Dmo Xian could only look on helplessly as Yiqing Luo's figure slowly disappeared. Dmo Xian expressed. Chapter 1271. Three Springs City, the World Mercenary Group's old residence. The students of the Devil class were sent back to the old mansion by 10 horse carriages. They were dispersed and escorted back by the Emperor Palace's disciples. One by one, the carriages entered the old mansion. Zhao Bo and the others stepped forward to carry the youths off the carriages. All of them sucked in a breath of cold air. The youths of Devil class laid in the horse carriage, completely unable to move. The faces of the youths were pale, and their brows were tightly knitted together in pain. There were no scars on their bodies, but they seemed to be in extreme pain from head to toe, as if they were on the verge of death. Zhao Bo immediately ordered his men to gently lift the youths off the carriage and send them to their rooms. For a time, the atmosphere in the old mansion was extremely heavy. No one spoke. Only the pained cries of the youths could be heard faintly drifting in the air. The last carriage entered the old house. The first to open the curtains was Qiao Jin, who was dressed in a red uniform and had his brows furrowed. He carried the pale-faced Yan Xiaoyi in his arms and gently leapt off the carriage. Executive Commander. When Zhao Bo saw Qiao Jin, he asked in a low voice with an extremely ugly expression, "What's going on?" He knew that Yiqing Luo and the others were going to take part in the Academy's interclass competition. The competition in the Academy had been witnessed by the various elders and teachers of the Academy. No matter how fierce the battle was, it was impossible for him to be injured to this extent, right? Furthermore, based on the strength of the other students in the Heavenly Academy, how could they hurt this bunch of youngsters? Zhao Bo was full of doubts. Qiao Jin did not reply. His face was ashen as he stared fixedly at the woman in his arms, as if he could no longer see anyone or anything in the outside world. "Where is Holy Pirate?" Long Yunzhan's cold voice came from behind him. Zhao Bo halted his steps and bowed respectfully. "Guild leader." Long Yunzhan coldly nodded. "They are badly hurt. Let's ask Holy Pirate to come." Zhao Bo responded and immediately turned in the direction of Holy Pirate's courtyard. Long Yunzhan looked at the back view of Qiao Jin carrying Yan Xiaoyi as they left. He wanted to catch up and wait for God Pirate's arrival. Just as he was about to lift his leg, Long Yunzhan's ears twitched. A hint of vigilance flashed across his indifferent eyes. Footsteps were approaching. Moreover, there were more than 20 of them. He frowned and turned around. When he saw the person behind him, the seriousness on his face eased a little. "Why are you here?" It was none other than Tao Tao. Behind Peach, there were more than 20 doctors dressed in doctor uniforms with medical boxes on their waists. As far as the eye could see, the youngest doctor was over 50 years old. The doctors were panting heavily, and their foreheads were dripping with sweat. When they arrived at the old house, They wiped the cold sweat off their foreheads and looked around. Captain Peach Blossom, where are the injured? Peach also ran all the way here. Her delicate face was covered with a thin layer of sweat. She looked up at Long Yunjan and panted, Leader Long, where are the injured people? I specially asked Peach Blossom 3000 to invite the famous doctors near Three Springs City over. Thank you for your hard work. He was about to ask Holy Pirate to find the famous doctor from Three Springs City, but Peach had already made the arrangements. Thank you. Long Yunjan curled his lips slightly, his azure blue eyes revealing sincerity. Peach looked at the handsome face in front of her, and a trace of amazement flashed in her eyes. It was the first time she had seen Long Yunjan smile. All along, Long Yunjan had been expressionless and emotionless. It was a little surprising. Chapter 1272. He was still dressed like a nouveau riche. Against the sunlight, his entire body shone with a dazzling golden light. In an instant, God Thief was already standing in front of Long Yunjan, as he held onto Long Yunjan's shoulder. Qing Luo, that last didn't come back with you? Don't tell me. You were beaten up badly in an interclass competition? We won the competition. He interrupted Holy Pirate's wild thoughts. Take these doctors and check their pulses. We can talk about the rest later. Long Yunjan coldly replied. After saying that, he led the 20 or so doctors to the youngsters' rooms. The old house, which had been silent for a long time, gradually became extremely lively. The doctor came and went. Zhao Bo and the others listened to the doctor's instructions and ran back and forth to help. Yin Xiaoyi's room. Xiao Jin sat by the bed and used a towel to wipe the cold sweat off Yin Xiaoyi's forehead. That delicate little face was now as pale as a sheet of paper. Her usually fiery red lips were now devoid of any color. His breathing was extremely heavy, and from time to time, he would let out soft moans of pain. Her eyebrows were tightly knitted together, as if she was enduring the intense pain. Xiao Jin's hand, which was wiping her cold sweat, couldn't stop trembling. Seeing Yin Xiaoyi in such pain, his heart ached even more. He couldn't wait to take her place and bear the pain. Xiao Jin was infinitely vexed. Why wasn't he by Yin Xiaoyi's side when they were at the back mountain? If he had accompanied Yin Xiaoyi wouldn't have suffered such serious injuries, and wouldn't have needed to consume the Imperial Palace's pills, and wouldn't have to suffer such pain. His slender fingers curled up the towel in his hand one by one. At this moment, the strong and determined man's eyes reddened. Xiao Jin put the towel into the basin, and gently held her little hand. Her delicate hand was so small, yet his large palm could completely wrap around her small hand. Xiao Jin held her hand tightly, lifted it gently, and pressed it against his cheek. Her hands were bone-chilling, just like frost. It was so cold that his body trembled slightly. His heart was aching and filled with guilt. Xiaoyi, Xiao Jin murmured softly, calling Yin Xiaoyi's name affectionately. Even he himself did not notice it. The tenderness in his words could almost be squeezed out of water. His gaze was tender and tender, his expression gentle. Xiaoyi, after going through this, I'm increasingly certain of your position in my heart. When you wake up, when you get better, I will definitely tell you everything in my heart. A pained groan interrupted Xiao Jin's murmurs. Xiao Jin, who had been confessing tenderly, paused. Their previous high morale instantly vanished without a trace. The eyelashes of the woman lying on the bed trembled as she twisted her body in pain. His breathing became heavier and heavier, as if he was suffering from indescribable pain. Xiao Jin held her hand tightly and pressed it against his face. He covered her eyes with his other hand. Xiaoyi, I'm here. I'm here. In his palm, he could clearly feel the movement of his eyelashes. Xiao Jin's heart trembled, and he immediately withdrew his hand. Sure enough, he saw a pair of beautiful eyes that were covered with a layer of haziness. She blinked her eyes in a daze, her face scrunched up in pain, until Yin Xiaoyi's eyes completely opened, and a pair of hazily beautiful eyes looked towards him. Xiao Jin's entire body stiffened. He was still holding Yin Xiaoyi's hand and placing it against his cheek. Chapter 1273. Yin Xiaoyi's gaze was fixated on Xiao Jin. She didn't speak. He became increasingly nervous. After a while, Xiao Jin stood up in a panic. I just felt that your hand was very cold, so. He stuttered as he explained, his face full of nervousness. He had just vowed that as long as Yin Xiaoyi woke up, he would tell her about his feelings. At this moment, those words had long been forgotten because of his nervousness when facing Yin Xiaoyi. His stuttering explanation was stopped when Yin Xiaoyi slowly sat up. Xiao Jin pressed Yin Xiaoyi down in a panic. You can't move around recklessly now. Before the doctor comes, lie down and rest. As soon as he finished speaking, Yin Xiaoyi's body actually fell towards him softly. Then, without warning, she stretched out her hands and wrapped them around his firm waist. That pale little face was pressed against his abdomen. Xiao Jin could clearly feel Yin Xiaoyi's icy cold face through the thin layer of clothing. Xiao Jin. Yin Xiaoyi's pale thin lips opened slightly as she softly called out his name. Because of this action, the wounds on his body were affected, causing a tearing pain. Yin Xiaoyi's eyes reddened. Her little hands wrapped even tighter as her voice revealed a trace of grievance. Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin. Xiao Jin was stunned. She wasn't angry at him for holding her hand without permission? And she even took the initiative to wrap her arms around his waist? Xiao Jin's heart beat wildly, his entire body inexplicably hot. He looked at the young girl who was hugging him, his body stiff, his arms trembling as he reached towards her. He wanted to wrap his arms around Yin Xiaoyi, but he was afraid of being rejected by Yin Xiaoyi. Don't tell me you hate me that much? Yin Xiaoyi suddenly raised her head, her misty eyes looking at him. Her beautiful eyes were slightly red, revealing a thin layer of mist. Xiao Jin's heart stopped. He subconsciously reached out to hold her face, gently caressing her eyes. How could I hate you, Xiaoyi? How could I hate you? I can't wait to like you. How could I hate you? Don't cry. If you cry, my heart will ache. Xiao Jin silently added another sentence in his heart. His slender fingers gently caressed Yin Xiaoyi's eyes. Yin Xiaoyi's little hands tightened around his waist, seemingly enjoying Xiao Jin's touch. She slowly closed her eyes, and the pain between her brows eased a little. He waited for a long time, but he didn't feel the sensation he was expecting. Yin Xiaoyi opened her eyes in confusion. She saw Xiao Jin staring at her, not knowing what he was thinking. Yin Xiaoyi blinked her eyes in a daze, her soft body lying on top of his. The woman's soft and delicate body, especially the softness in front of her chest, was pressed tightly against his chest. Xiao Jin was hot-blooded, and the one in his arms was the woman he loved. His body tensed up, and he reached out to pry Yin Xiaoyi's hand away. Ugh, it hurts. Yin Xiaoyi refused to let go. She didn't know why, but every time her body moved, she would feel a dull pain. It was as if his internal organs had been torn apart. Why could he still feel such clear pain in his dream? However, she still endured the pain, and only wanted to hug Xiao Jin tightly. This dream belonged to her alone. Only in her dreams did this man belong to her alone. Only in her dreams could she do whatever she wanted to do to him, without any qualms. She wasn't willing to wake up, nor was she willing to let go of him in her dreams. This was her dream, so she could do anything, as long as she could keep him. Chapter 1274. Hearing Yin Xiaoyi cry out in pain, Xiao Jin immediately panicked. How would he dare to struggle again? Looking at Yin Xiaoyi with a worried gaze, Xiao Jin asked helplessly, Where does it hurt? Where does it hurt? Bear with it, the doctor will be here soon. I'll rush the doctor over to take a look at you. Don't cry. Just as he was about to turn and leave, the two hands around his waist wrapped around him tightly, unwilling to let go. Xiaoyi you. Xiao Jin didn't dare to move too much, worried that it would affect Yin Xiaoyi's wound. Before he could speak, Yin Xiaoyi held his hand. She pulled his large palm and placed it on her chest. It hurts here, it hurts. Xiao Jin, what do I do? I'm about to die from the pain. Xiao Jin's mind went blank. It was as if a ball of white light exploded in his mind. What did his hand touch? It was as soft as cotton. It was so soft that he subconsciously wanted to move his fingers. And once he moved, he heard a soft moan. It was alluring. His consciousness suddenly came back to his senses. His eyes fixed on Yin Xiaoyi's body. His hand was still on Yin Xiaoyi's chest. His fingers were bent. It was obvious that he really rubbed. Xiaoyi, sorry. Xiao Jin's face instantly flushed red. He wanted to retract his hand, but Yin Xiaoyi seemed to know what he wanted to do, and stopped him in advance. With this pull and pull, the feeling in his palm became increasingly clear. Xiao Jin's body was extremely tense, the emotions in his eyes constantly attacking his lower abdomen. His eyes were already filled with a trace of desire. No, it can't be like this. Xiao Yi's injury was so serious. How could he have such thoughts towards Xiao Yi at this time? Xiao Jin constantly convinced himself. His arms slightly exerted force, wanting to maintain a distance from Yin Xiao Yi. But Yin Xiao Yi was very strong. Under the pull, Yin Xiao Yi's body was already weak. Her body fell forward, about to fall off the bed. Xiao Jin caught Yin Xiao Yi in time. The two of them fell to the ground. Xiao Jin acted as a cushion, so Yin Xiao Yi didn't fall. But the position of the two was a little too ambiguous. Xiao Jin also realized this, and shifted his gaze away unnaturally. Xiao Yi, can you move? Yin Xiao Yi leaned against his chest. Her slightly red face was no longer as cold as before. She replied softly, her little hand subconsciously grabbing onto his shirt. Get up first. Xiao Jin's tense body had already reached its limit. The most torturous thing in the world. Nothing was better than being intimate with the woman he loved. But he couldn't and didn't dare to do anything. Yin Xiaoyi suddenly raised her eyes and looked deeply at Xiao Jin. Her hands changed from gripping his clothes to gently caressing it. His fingers were like elves, moving through a layer of clothing. A trace of a smile blossomed on her lips. Didn't you forcefully press me against the table the last time? Forcefully kissed me? You still want to take off my clothes? Xiao Jin's body stiffened, and his breathing became heavy. What, you don't have the guts now? Yin Xiaoyi suddenly bent down and pressed her fingers on Xiao Jin's lips. Only you are allowed to forcefully push me. But I'm not allowed to forcefully push you? Just as her voice fell, her lips had already forcefully pressed on his, forcefully biting and caressing. She imitated how he had kissed her the last time, and returned the kiss to Xiao Jin, without changing anything. Xiao Yi. Xiao Jin's voice was already hoarse. There was a voice in his head that kept shouting for him to press down this unbridled woman on top of him. Somewhere in his body, it kept clamoring for action. But he maintained his rationality. Calm down. Calm down. Xiao Yi's actions must be because the injuries on her body had worsened, causing her to lose consciousness. He couldn't take advantage of her. But this thought just flashed past his mind. Chapter 1275. Yin Xiao Yi's slender and fair little hands were as soft as silk. They bounced on Xiao Jin's chest. Slowly it slid into his clothes. Her delicate skin came into contact with him without any resistance. Xiao Jin's tense nerves broke down at this moment. His eyes, which were filled with yearning, were bloodshot, burning with the flames of lust. Xiao Yi. His hoarse voice revealed an irrepressible lust. Xiao Jin reached out and hugged the girl who was lying on him. You asked for it. He was a man. He was young and full of vigor. How could he control himself under the seduction of the girl he loved? If he could control himself, then he wasn't a man. Xiao Jin's fierce and unreasonable look didn't make Yin Xiaoyi afraid at all. Instead, she giggled out loud. Because of her discomfort, her frowning brows relaxed at this moment. If you dare to stop, then you aren't a man. Yin Xiaoyi grabbed his clothes tightly and pulled hard. After pulling Xiao Jin down, she kissed his thin lips fiercely. In this dream, she wanted to truly feel Xiao Jin's taste, Xiao Jin's temperature, Xiao Jin's everything. In this dream, Xiao Jin belonged to her alone. Yin Xiao Yi's kiss became more and more lingering. Xiao Jin turned from guest to host, biting Yin Xiao Yi's lips. The intense kiss raised the temperature of the whole room. The two of them were already entangled. At this moment, Brat, is Xiao Yi okay? I've brought the ghost doctor over. Let's take a look at Xiao Yi and see what's going on. The door was pushed open rudely. God Thief tugged on the ghost doctor's sleeve and swaggered in. Peach, Long Yunjian, and Zhao Bo followed behind. Immediately, there was a moment of silence. The few of them looked at everything that was happening in the room in shock, smelling the extremely ambiguous smell in the air. Both parties froze. Xiao Jin was originally full of lust. Now that he was shocked and being watched, he was so scared that he went soft. He wanted to cry but had no tears. Damn, would he have a shadow in his heart in the future? Would he be able to get better in the future? Damn, he wouldn't be impotent, right? Cough, cough, cough. Holy Pirate, who was the first to react, blushed. He immediately dragged the ghost doctor away. When Long Yunjian, Zhao Bo, and the others came to their senses, they reached out to cover Peach's eyes and forcibly took her away. The door slammed shut again with a bang. Outside the door, the ghost doctor's voice could be heard. If you don't want Miss Yan's injuries to worsen, you'd better stop now. Otherwise, even I, the ghost doctor, will be powerless. You're such an unromantic old man. The young couple is so loving inside. And you have to say such things that spoil the mood. Holy Pirate spat a few times as if he was pulling the ghost doctor away. When Xiao Jin, who was in the room, heard the ghost doctor's words, all his feelings completely vanished into thin air. He stiffened his body and quickly got up. He discovered that the girl beneath him had unknowingly fallen unconscious again. Her little face turned even paler. His brows were tightly knitted, as if he was in unbearable pain. His lips that were swollen and moist from kissing opened slightly, and he kept groaning in pain. Xiaoyi! Xiaoyi! Xiao Jin's heart suddenly felt a sharp pain, and it twitched fiercely. Chapter 1276. While the ghost doctor was taking Yen Xiaoyi's pulse, Long Yunjian succinctly recounted what had happened in West Lawn Square. After hearing that all the students in the devil class had been surrounded by the dark forces, which was why they were so heavily injured, the ghost doctor and God Pirate's eyes met, and a haze flashed across their eyes. He was already heavily injured to begin with, and he even consumed the spirit-returning pill specially made by the Imperial Palace. If it was an ordinary profound practitioner, once the effects of the spirit-returning pill were used up, he would either die or be crippled. Ghost Doctor's white brows creased, as he impatiently flung Yen Xiaoyi's wrist away. Luckily you've been nourished by last Qing Luo's medicinal pill, and your body's quality has far surpassed ordinary people, so you're able to withstand the backlash from the spirit-returning pill. The more he spoke, the more impatient his expression became. You're just a bunch of kids who haven't even grown hair yet. Why do you have to provoke this kind of thing? Troublesome. If it wasn't for the fact that these youngsters had a close relationship with Yi Qing Luo, the ghost doctor really wasn't willing to waste her time refining medicine to treat these troublesome brats. So it's the soul-restoring pill. No wonder I can't see any injuries on these kids, but they're all howling like pigs being slaughtered. Holy Pirate suddenly understood and looked at Ghost Doctor. This group of kids are like newborn calves that are not afraid of tigers. They even dared to take elixirs like the Return God pill. Most profound practitioners did not dare to experience the consequences of consuming the soul-returning pill. In the case of severe injuries, after consuming the soul-returning pellet, the wounds on the profound practitioner's body would heal on their own. After the effects of the medicine dissipated, the wounds on the body would not reappear. However, the wounds still had an effect on the body. Not only did profound practitioners have to endure pain that was 100 times more painful than when they were heavily injured, they also had to. He couldn't find the exact location of the wound on his body, or what kind of injury it was. But there was no way to save him. Ghost Doctor. Xiao Jin stood stiffly by the bedside, his gaze deeply fixed on Yen Xiaoyi, whose face was filled with pain. Is there no other way? The moment he opened his mouth, the ghost doctor glared at him maliciously. You brat, you still dare to speak. You clearly knew that this girl's injuries were severe, yet you still did that kind of thing to her. If we hadn't come early, this girl's life would have been in your hands. How troublesome. All he did was create trouble for him. Xiao Jin was unable to refute and lowered his eyes in guilt. All right, call that bunch of quacks over. And first tell them how to find the location of the wound. The ghost doctor couldn't be bothered to say anything else. She just wanted to resolve this troublesome matter as soon as possible. In his heart, he was already thinking that when Yiqing Luo returned, he would definitely make her repay the kindness. Locking Yiqing Luo in the secret alchemy room for 10 days to half a month to help him refine medicinal pills. Quack doctor? Xiaobo swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Those doctors were the most prestigious doctors in and outside of Three Springs City, and within a radius of hundreds of miles. In the mouth of the ghost doctor, all of them had become quacks? Long Yun Zhan's cold gaze swept past Xiaobo. Xiaobo shuddered and reacted. I'll call them over now. Westlawn Square Dormitory. Night approached the hour of Yin. Yiqing Luo's eyes were shut as she fell into dreamland. Even in her dreams, her brows were still tightly knitted. It was as if he couldn't calm down. Suddenly, a well-defined finger gently touched her tightly knitted eyebrows. A strong arm wrapped around the sleeping girl. The purple robe fluttered. Under the dim candlelight, the fluorescent glow was harmonious. Xian, stop fooling around. The young lady pouted her pink lips as she raised her hand to push away the arm, which was restraining her waist, turning over and continuing to sleep. In the next instant, a pair of warm lips had already sealed her lips. The elegant sandalwood scent, mixed with the scent of male hormones. Chapter 1277. Yiqing Luo moaned twice as both her hands pushed against Dmo Xian's chest. But her struggle made Dmo Xian even more overbearing. In just a short while, he made her throw away her armor. She opened her eyes in a daze as she gazed into that pair of tender and sweet peach blossom eyes. Her hands automatically wrapped around his neck as she pressed her lips tightly against his as she murmured, Xian. Just as she relaxed her body and closed her eyes to enjoy the intimacy with Dmo Xian, the man who was leaning on her had already moved his body away. The man's scorching temperature suddenly disappeared. His large palm moved her wrists away from his neck. Yiqing Luo frowned in puzzlement. Was the emperor bird the kind of person who would give up on conquering her when she took the initiative? It was obviously the kind of person who could turn the tables and forcefully suppress her. At this critical juncture, the emperor bird actually took the initiative to stop. Cough. This could be a fake Dmo Xian? Get up and wash up. The deep male voice made her mellow for a moment. Yiqing Luo lazily turned over and laid on the pillow, ignoring him. She was extremely dissatisfied with Dmo Xian's sudden stop. Bei Yuan is waiting for you. Aren't you going to get up? Dmo Xian's thin lips curled as his body leaned down once again. Or, do you want me to continue? The man's warm breath sprayed on the skin on the back of her neck. His large palm slowly covered her back. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled as her cheeks turned slightly red. Just as she was about to avoid Dmo Xian's touch, his hand suddenly pressed on her waist. That faintly discernible teasing made Yiqing Luo's face flushed red like a raging fire, burning hot. Her brain heated up as she simply turned over and grabbed Dmo Xian's deliberately teasing hand as she gritted her teeth and spat out a word. Continue if you have the ability. The man who was looking at her from a close distance suddenly froze. That originally playful smile on his face instantly turned gloomy. Yiqing Luo raised her brows in provocation as she flung Dmo Xian's hand to one side. Just as she was about to proudly get up, her shoulders sank, and she fell onto the bed once again. Then his scalding hot body pressed down. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened in astonishment, and before she could even say a word, she was fiercely kissed by Dmo Xian. This kiss was different from the past. Instead, it was a fierce, aggressive kiss. It was as if he was really moved by Guyu and his feelings were aroused. Yiqing Luo was so shocked that she pushed Dmo Xian's chest. She was still on her period. Dmo Xian wouldn't be that beastly, forcefully pushing her during her menstrual period, right? However, to Dmo Xian, her struggles were merely tickling. His hand followed her body straight down. It slid between her breasts. Yiqing Luo struggled even more fiercely. Without saying a word, Dmo Xian's fingers swept over the inside of her twin crescent breasts and pressed down hard. Oh! Yiqing Luo's body shuddered violently as her breathing stopped momentarily. Her blushing face was now flushed red, as if it was on fire. He's a heartless beast. He actually used his hands to press down on her. Lil Luo. Don't try to provoke a man's self-control. Dmo Xian's low and hoarse voice revealed his deep feelings. There's still 5 more days. I will continue until you cry and beg for mercy. His lips brushed past her earlobe. It made Yiqing Luo's petite body shudder continuously. Yiqing Luo's mind went blank. Even when the man flipped over and got down from her body, she still hadn't noticed it. Looking at the completely dazed young lady, Dmo Xian smiled helplessly. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.